fun, crafting dreams and making plans. But decisions came like twisters, scattered hopes across the floor. Now players shake their heads, wondering what they're gaming for. Oh, Warner Brothers, what you doing to your name? Patent nemesis, it's greed behind your fame. Canceled Wonder Woman, left us waiting in the dust. Suicide Squad sinking fast, lost the gaming world's trust. That nemesis system had folks cheering far and wide, but you locked it down and creativity just died. Instead of leading progress, you're blocking up the lane, holding back the industry, causing nothing but disdain. Oh, Warner Brothers, can't you see the gaming light? Misreading your audience, getting nothing right, letting great teams crumble, opportunities ignored. Gamers asking why they're even bothered anymore. Wonder Woman could have soared, made history anew, but you tossed her out like yesterday's news. Suicide Squad came in hot, crashed and burned right through. Misunderstood your market, now the joke's on you. Oh, Warner Brothers, lost in stubborn pride. Gaming world's changing, but you're stuck inside. Missed every chance you had, ignored the warning signs. Better wake up soon before you fall too far behind. Here's a message, Warner, from gamers coast to coast. Respect your teams and visions, or you'll end up as a ghost. Stop wasting all potential, learn to play the game, or Warner Brothers games will just remain a crying shame. Oh, Tamriel, shooby-doo, fast travel through my heart. I booted up my PC back in 2006. Met a guy named Martin, man, his chin could break bricks. Dedrick gates were open and I saved Kvatch that night. But these days, Todd Howard can't script a game right. I miss the wacky guards yelling, "Stop, you violated the law." And mud crabs with tood like they're flexing their claw. I'd stroll through the shivering aisles, high on skooma and dreams. Now Starfield's got me mining space rocks and jeans. Back to the oblivion, baby, where the quests were weird and gravy. From Shiogarat's cheese to Lucian's ghost, it had more charm than Todd could ever post. Yes, Starfield's big, but it's dull and gray. I'd rather close an oblivion gate today. Now listen here, Todd, you silver-tongued crooner. You sold me lies smoother than a Khajiit moon sugar dealer. You see that planet? You can go there. Yeah, I went, it sucked, it's just a rock and despair. I want my persuasion wheel, my glitchy horse on a roof. I want that beggar with 6 voices telling me the truth. Make the liar have more insight and flair than all your procedurally generated air. Back to the oblivion, baby, where the gates were hot and the the jokes weren't lazy. Yeah, Skyrim was fine and the mods were neat, but Oblivion's heart had a weirder beat. So Todd, my boy, if you're hearing this song, bring back the weird and don't take so long. Doo-wop, Daedric pop, Martin Septim never dropped, but Starfield made me stop playing. Oh, Todd, please stop.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Sorry, I was going to use some sound bites while we were listening to that, but I swapped back to the Go XLR because this thing has been a nightmare. And so I swapped back to this, but now all of my sound bites are literally mixed up. Like you might have heard if you listened closely, I tried to hit the I'm vibing button, but this time it was Tan Mom, you know? Or like this one should be Valaha. I'm vibing. But it's I'm vibing. I don't know what's happening anymore. Anyway, Rodecaster Pro 2. I have not wrestled with a piece of hardware more in my life than I've wrestled with this. Works perfect one day, and then literally the next day, as you heard on Friday, the audio is just like 20 decibels too high, so nothing is audible. In fact, it's too audible. It's just a trash. Just as I thought, trash. Terrible. It's because it's made for like podcasting. It literally in the back, I should take this out before I do anything else. In the back it has like a micro SD card, okay, for it. So like you can literally record straight to the micro SD card and rock and roll that way. It's not really made for streaming. The Go XLR was made for streaming, which is why I love it, but the team got fired that was building it. So what are you gonna do? What are we talking about today? Good question. We actually have a couple of little tidbits to go through. We've got some stuff about Cory Barlog's new project, maybe. You might be wondering why I'm wearing the Naughty Monica shirt. It's because we're going to talk about it. It's going to be cool. We're also going to touch on IGN did a big preview. That's right. They were allowed to do a preview for Mafia: The Old Country. So they played allegedly 3 hours. I have not looked at it. I don't know what they say in it, but we're going to see it together and find out what they have to show. It's going to be interesting. I do see Mafia game videos did post on it 7 minutes ago. Much better presentation than last week's gameplay, which is at least good because Mafia game videos, if you don't know, was one of the people blasting out all the comparisons and like pushing for them to put out separate gameplay. So I think it's going to be good. Arik, thank you for the membership, by the way. Thank you. I'm not sure if our soundboard stuff, if our notifications are working. But I guess we will find out. The hard way. So anyway, yeah, we're going to go through that. We have a couple of other little tidbits and little things I'm sure that are going to pop up because if you've never been to one of my streams, they're basically an ADHD simulator. So buckle up, okay? Yeah, I also want to talk about another $200 million flop. We'll go through all of it. Yeah, we'll hit it up. It'll be good. Bite size. Oh, hold on. Let me check which sound bite I need.
That's most definitely what's up.
Thank you. Told you not to go live, boy. Better not punch your phone and destroy it. That's what's up. Rip Puff. Yeah, I just saw on the 7 hour or whatever stream recap that Boglum did. He was like, it's been 4 years since Puff died or ran off. It's not been 4 years. Like, I think it's been 2. Like, that poor boy's brain is fried. He at least makes more sense now. I think he got off of the spice or whatever he was doing. He's at least somewhat coherent now. But yeah, shout out Cobra. Anyway, thank you for that 5. And yes, Rip Puff indeed. Yeah, poor bearded dragon escaping in the middle of Casper, Wyoming. I mean, really, what's the over under that Like I've had multiple bearded dragons in my life, and they will like run off if you leave them be. Like you can't just leave him on the floor. He's gonna try to run into like the closet or a crack in the wall. Like you can't just let him free roam. They're lizards, especially in the middle of Casper, Wyoming. I would not do that in winter, you know. But I mean, there's still like no shot of anybody to lose a bearded dragon. It would be Josh, but there's also like. There's no shot, right? Like, for sure, that dragon's dead as hell. Like, there's no way it's still kicking. But anyway. He doesn't know if it's 2015 or 2025. Dude, if we could rewind the clocks with him and go back to 2015, that era, that was like goated. That was, yeah, those were the days, man. Thank you, Tiger, for the 5. Completed Alien Isolation for the first time today. Amazing game. I don't know what IGN was on when they made that review. Hope you're well, Luke. Yes, I hope you're well too. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the super chat. Yeah, Alien Isolation's a good one. That's one that we played in my college house. My buddy Michael would come down and hook up his computer to the TV in like our communal living room that we had, and we would play it as like a game night thing. It was a good time. It was a really good time. Yeah, and shout out Michael. He has a baby due today. As far as I know, nothing's happening yet, but his baby's due today. So shout out Michael. It's happening. It's happening. His very first. It's all coming together. Bite size. I think he found it dead, threw it in the trash, and said it ran away. He claims he went outside and it jumped off his shoulder and ran away. No chance that happened. He's a serial liar now. I mean, I could see it dying. I don't think he'd just throw it away though. I think he would like legitimately have a funeral, like a private funeral for him. But I think he would have slipped by now. Like that's the thing, is he's like a serial liar, but he's also a bad liar. And he eventually slips up, you know? So I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's possible. I'm going to be a dad. He is going to be a dad. Yeah. It's happening. It's happening, guys. It's happening. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate the gosh darn heck out of all of you. You guys are wonderful for being here. Thank you for putting up with the technical issues on Friday. Just goes to show you, don't change anything ever because things break. Maybe I'm just a boomer and that's like, back in my day, I plugged in the Go XLR and it worked just fine. This baby had no problems. That thing, too many buttons. Yeah, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the drama. Am I the drama? I don't think I'm the drama. Speaking of drama, I feel like I should do the quick little recap thing just for you. As you know, we do sort of a weekly roundup of Luke's random brain rot. But this week I do have something fun to show you. Billy Mitchell. He is on TikTok now, asking to get to 1,000 followers so he can start going live and doing live streams and stuff. So this showed up in my feed, just him asking for followers. Shout out Billy Mitchell.
Billy Mitchell, at Billy Mitchell Gamer. TikTok, come, watch. I'm going to amaze you. I got a lot of fun. I got a lot of sarcasm. I got a lot of history. But if you're there to watch Billy Mitchell Gamer, you'll see it, you'll hear it. You won't hear it anywhere else.
Legend. What a legend. Yeah, he's real. He's real life. He's a real person. Also, I saw this guy. This was just cool. I don't know what you're going to do with this information, but this was just kind of cool.
For the past 21 years, I've been building a miniature model of New York City, and I'm carving the entire thing by hand out of balsa wood. I made almost 1 million buildings. I completed all 5 boroughs, and I don't have it displayed yet, but once I do, it'll be 50 feet long and 30 feet wide. This is one of the 350 sections that I made. This is downtown Manhattan. This is the Freedom Tower right here.
Like, honestly, nice. That's kind of cool.
This is the World Trade Center. I kept the World Trade Center. They're my favorite buildings. When I was a kid growing up in Queens, I used to look out my bedroom window and look at the World Trade Center every day. This
It's kind of cute that he left him in as a little homage. And there you go. There you go. So that one was kind of cool. You know what? I respect the hustle. I respect it. I don't remember what this one is. Whenever I post a TikTok to my like, oh, I remember this. Have you guys ever heard of like the LARP groups? The like live action role play groups? They go in and they like fight with pool noodles and stuff and pretend they have swords and everything. There's a few groups in Fort Collins, my hometown, that do it. And you'll see them around every once in a while. It's like seeing a Bigfoot, you know, it's like, oh, look, the LARP group is out at City Park. You know, it's very funny. But I found a group called, this person that's posting it is an account called Reckless Endeavor. Very small, very small. They get like 10 likes on the average post, but they do this and they post a lot of these videos.
Put this by table. Hold person. Right, does that block my eye?
You're immune.
So they're casting spells, which is what that is when they yell out, hold person, hold person. They're casting a spell, and the person holding the camera is the referee or game master or whatever that gets to decide if the spell was effective.
I'm immune?
Yep.
I'm immune. I'm good. Put my arm.
Got the whole dragon tail, too.
Now shield. 5 left on the other arm. From your dragon. Blanket party can't break to one side.
So there's that. But you know what? It can get even crazier. I know what you're thinking because I can read your mind. Luke, this is great for sword-based combat. What about magic-based combat? Is that just lost on you? No, they thought of that. They also do magic-based combat too, casting spells using beanbags.
Fireball! Powered fireball! Powered fireball! Powered fireball! Powered fireball!
Powered fireball! Ooh. So if you hear me randomly yell out, powered fireball, that's what I'm referring to, okay? Honestly, have fun, guys. Have fun. That looks like it's probably a good time. No judgment here. No judgment here. You know, whenever I see something like that, like there is the impulse to just be like, get a job. Also, shout out Billy Mitchell. There's the impulse to be like, get a job. But also at the same time, it's like, you know what? If that's your hobby, they're getting outside. They're hanging out with friends. It's honestly not that bad of a hobby. I respect it. I respect it. That's a good hustle, you know? Surprised Luke doesn't do LARP. I do a different kind of LARP. A different kind. Much dirtier, grosser kind, you know? It's a whole different thing. I'm still laughing and judging. Yeah. Well, there you go. Let's see. Afternoon, Luke. Have you talked about Subnautica news yet? Crazy stuff. Sad. Love the franchise. Yeah, dude. I did some digging into it. And I still think that there's some piece of the puzzle that I'm just totally missing. Because typically when something doesn't make sense, there's a reason. Like there's some piece of the puzzle that you don't have, right? It's like, wait, why would they do this, this, and this? That doesn't make any sense. There's got to be another piece of the puzzle. But eventually, like, you find that piece of the puzzle and it may make it way worse, or maybe it explains it a little bit better. It's a similar thing with like the studio behind Disco Elysium, where the guys that made Disco Elysium, a lot of the founders got booted out and basically fired and lost control of the IP and the company and everything. And the claim was it was because of a hostile work environment. The guys that they fired were super toxic, but the guys that were fired were like, no, we were booted out because they wanted to take control of the IP and all this. And it's like, we watched a whole documentary on it, did a bunch of reading on it. There's a lawsuit involved with it. And it kind of turns out like the more information you get, the worse it makes everybody look. You know, it just makes everything look terrible. But with the Subnautica 2 stuff specifically, I'm trying to find an explanation and play devil's advocate to the point where I'm like, what would Krafton's defense be? And I still can't figure out any defense that doesn't make them look horrible. Because it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. We can go through that later. But yeah, it's there's a lot. And then just a few hours ago, there was a leak from a credible source regarding milestone review of Subnautica 2. This clearly shows the state of development progress and why Krafton and Subnautica team disagreed on the release schedules. So they released this slideshow, or leaked this slideshow, where they look at these pictures based on certain levels of performance. Content volume increased over 30% compared to V1 as expected, along with launch level gameplay polish. The build should allow players to experience the core loop at a high level of completeness. And they show the different levels, how many creatures they've got completed, as it currently is, where they're going with the different chapters and all of this. So trying to basically explain where the game was at that point. And so there's kind of two perspectives on it. On the one hand, there's the guys that feel like Krafton delayed the game and fired the people at the top to prevent it from releasing this year so they wouldn't have to pay out the $250 million bonus, which certainly makes Krafton look bad. The other side of it is to suggest that the developers and the people running the project were rushing it out to try and hit the unit sold mark to get the bonus. So they were going to push the game out even though it was not ready to get their big bonus, which would also be bad. And you could be like, okay, I can see why the publisher would want to delay it so they don't have a flop on their hands just so they pay out a bonus, you know? And as always, I feel like, it's just really, really messy. And it's not clear. I mean, it could be that both were right. Like, it could be that Krafton is right about the developers and the people running the company shoving it out before it was ready to get the bonus or try to get the bonus, or at the same time, it could also be true that the developers were right, that Krafton did all this to prevent paying out the bonus. Like, they both could be, there could be a sliver of truth in both perspectives. And as always, usually the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle. But yeah, the whole thing is very messy. It's very bizarre. Very bizarre. I don't have all the details so far, and Subnautica 2 situation already sounds like a complete mess. Yeah, I mean, it's a dumpster fire. Yeah, it's a dumpster fire. Junkyard Grows, thank you for that. I love your channel, Luke. You're literally the only person I watch is like video games news channel. Very knowledgeable. Brother, thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my ramblings. Appreciate you. Have you seen Superman? No, I have not seen Superman. Yesterday, for the weekend, we held a little going away party because my little brother is moving to California, for a big boy job he has out there. It's pretty cool. Shout out Timmy. He's doing it. He's doing the thing. Yeah. It's like actually a pretty good job. I won't say what company it's with, but it's with a company that you want to get with. I mean, it's a company that's going to when it hits IPO, he's going to be doing pretty good. He's going to be taking me to dinner. I'll tell you what. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Is it with Naughty Monica? Yeah, he got a new job at the up and coming studio. Yep. Confirmed. Yep. Not Microsoft? No. No. The key is you don't want to work at Microsoft. You want to work for Microsoft. Microsoft has a ton of money, but Microsoft, they the real money to be made from them is by being one of their contractors, one of their people that they bring in to do a project, because then you're not beholden to the Microsoft machine, and you do the job, you do the contract, and then you leave and you do another one. They might sign you immediately for another one, but my dad was saying how you work within the company structure in most positions that are not high level executive, and your pay is not that great. They're going to push you out. They're going to try to downsize you and get you to quit so they can hire somebody else. And that's just how they do it. But if you're a contractor, they will pay you significantly more than you would have gotten as an employee, but you're just there for one project. And it's kind of how the company is structured. The company is not set up This is super stupid oversimplified, so don't come at me when you're like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm being very, very simplistic here. Some companies, they have their budget that spans across all projects, all departments, and they're all under this, budgetary bubble. So they have their total budget, think $100 for the month, and you just fit everything in here, all of the employees, all of the projects, the leases, everything. The way Microsoft works, though, is a little bit different. Microsoft has that fixed budget, but they also have separate budgets for each project. So like, you might have the AI projects, which is like $80 billion, and then you've got the core like company, which is all of those core salaries, benefits, leases, everything. And that's here, maybe like 200, whatever. And so it's broken up, and then this might be their like enterprise team. This might be the cloud stuff, but they have the budgets broken up by like project instead of as a whole company. And that just means that they might need to reduce it. Like over here, they might need to cut 50 jobs or 500 jobs or 9,000 jobs. But they're still having money pour into the AI stuff. So they might just take people from here and rehire them as contractors over here, or fire them from here and rehire them over here. Like, it's just structured weird. Like the finances of Microsoft are confusing and strange. It's very different from like a standard company, How do you know all this? Because I went take a shot. I went to school for it. And it's a point of interest of mine. Like typically, my guilty pleasure reading are like finance articles or articles on the markets and everything. It's also just something that's good for investing. Like if you're into investing, if you're trying to be aware of what the market's doing, so you can put your allocate your capital where it needs to be. It's good to stay up on it, And it honestly, it doesn't take much to start to understand how this stuff works. Like one of the books I actually just got, I have it over here that I'm excited to read. I haven't started it. Not a sponsor, but Apple in China. Apple in China. It's a breakdown of basically how Apple went into these different areas of China and then basically trained all of the employees up to manufacture their devices. And so they basically created an educated populace in how to manufacture these things.
Sohab Radwin donated $20
which is why they're in
through
trouble
Super Chat.
right now.
Hey, saw a tab with Cory Barlog's name?
Mm-hmm.
Any news regarding his new game? Also, any new God of War news?
Oh, you came to the right stream, because we're going to talk about all that. Because there are a few little tidbits that are interesting. We're going to speculate wildly. And if you didn't know, Cory, every once in a while, shows up in chat as well. Who knows? Maybe he's here today and he'll just sit there and quietly judge us as we speculate about what he's doing. But still, we'll see. You never know who's watching. That's all I'm saying. You never know who's watching. The real Cory. Yeah, the real Cory. The book's called Apple in China. I'm excited to get into it. So anyway, we're gonna get into all of this. Thank you for the 20. That was very, very generous. Thank you. And then Krieg says, thank you for the 2. Luke. Hell yeah, my friend. Hell yeah. Hells yeah. No, if he's in the room, I don't think he's saying hi today. I think he's staying quiet, because we're gonna talk about his stuff today. It's gonna be awesome. Also, please make this happen. I'm just saying, if Billy Mitchell could actually sue DSP for something, that would be so freaking funny. I don't even know what he'd sue him over, but that would be so ridiculously hilarious. I don't know. It's because DSP is threatening to sue everybody right now. So yeah, it's a whole other thing. That's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. How do you go from working in finance to full-time YouTube and streaming? Well, I didn't really stream full-time, of course, because I still don't technically stream full-time, but I didn't stream a lot when I was working my big boy jobs, because I just didn't have time, but I still made videos. Like I was making gaming videos all through college, all through my early days, working out in the big city. So I was always doing it. At one point, I just decided to take the leap, take the leap. Is the real Todd here too? No, I don't. I think Todd would be very uncomfortable hanging out with us on stream, which fair. I can't say I'm too surprised. Yeah, I can't say I'm too surprised. Okay, let's do this now. Let's get into this. Let's get into our first topic, okay? Okay? Should we do it? Should we do the thing? Let's do it. Okay. And look what I can do now. Again. New segment. Bruh. Okay, posted 45 minutes ago on Push Square. Cory Barlog's busy on Sony Santa Monica's next big thing. So buckle up. We're going to speculate wildly in this video and talk about some of the little tidbits, why people think certain things are happening the way they are. But the very first thing that is worth mentioning is that Bloomberg's Jason Schreier threw a little tidbit in here after this was initially posted saying, quote, "Why does everybody think Cory Barlog's game is a new IP?" We've all just kind of been saying that it was a new IP because that was one of the initial waves of speculation, was that it was a new IP. And I think it's because, they were doing God of War Ragnarok, and he was sort of I think he took on the role of creative director. He was not like the actual game director. And it was somewhat understood that it was because he was also doing pre-production on something else. And so they weren't quite ready for him to go, all in there. So he still consulted on the game, but he wasn't like totally, balls deep in it. But Jason Schreier's suggesting, and maybe he's just trolling. He does a little trolling. Maybe he's just trolling, and it actually is going to be a new IP. But I thought this was interesting that it's just been kind of assumed and presumed for a while that it's a new IP. But we'll get to that later on in the segment because there are some things that people are looking at that might suggest what it is, but we'll get there. The implication here is that it's not a new IP, although it's unclear whether Jason is just having a bit of fun knowing whatever he says will reverberate through the web, including on websites like ours and streams like this one. You're welcome. It should be noted that a handful of Santa Monica's staffers have referred to the fact that they're working on a new IP on their resumes. Okay. While Barlog himself has not been shy about wanting to try something new. In fact, when he was in chat, whenever that was, he said he's excited to share it. Can't say anything, of course, but everybody that's associated with it seems very excited about it, which you could say, of course they're going to say that. They're not going to be like, yeah, it's going to suck. Like nobody's going to say that, but still. However, there's always a possibility that the dev could be working on a licensed franchise or revisiting something from PlayStation's past, or it's just making more God of War. Maybe they had him start on pre-production for God of War Egypt or whatever it is, and then he's going to jump in after the fact, after they finish Ragnarok, he finished pre-production on that new maybe trilogy or whatever they want to do. Who knows? The original story went like this. Cory Barlog, veteran Santa Monica studio director behind all-time PlayStation classics like God of War 2 and 2018's reboot, is toiling away on the next big thing. We've known for some time the developer has been plotting a fresh IP as Barlog stepped away from directorial duties on Ragnarok, passing the baton to Eric Williams. I could be mistaken. I could have sworn there were interviews Cory did as well where he was pointing out that the game, doing the game directing was kind of miserable. It is 5 years of you being in charge of hundreds of people's lives and destinies, and it's quite stressful. Quite stressful. You don't sleep very much. You don't eat. Well, you probably eat. You don't rest. It's kind of exhausting. So I don't blame him for wanting to take a game off. There was a story after Uncharted 4 where a lot of the people that worked on Uncharted 4 straight up left Naughty Dog, and some of them left the industry after that game because the crunch was so bad. It was so tough to get that thing put together. It was just miserable. So, making a big budget AAA game that's super, super polished and hitting budgets and deadlines and everything is not an easy thing to do. So it could be that he also just wanted to do something a little bit different. Who knows? But in a brief update from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, writing on the Reset Era forums, progress is going well on Monica's new game. He wrote a response to a fan query, quote, Cory Barlog's game is Santa Monica's next big thing. Last time I spoke to anyone about it a month or two ago, it was going well. So it's their next big thing. So it sounds like, if it is a new IP, there's going to be a new IP between Ragnarok and the next trilogy or whatever they do with God of War. So that's interesting. And I mean, I've seen some people suggest that maybe this is the project that's the smaller spin-off project that's been rumored. So for example, there was rumors that they were going to do an origin story for Kratos that was sort of like a initially was thought it was going to be like a Miles Morales Lost Legacy style game, but now the latest rumors are suggesting it's actually more of like a 2.5D platformer. It's not super clear, kind of like a Prince of Persia, Lost Crown, something like that. Just a smaller spin-off project. I personally, maybe that is what it is, but I'd be surprised if they had Cory working on a spin-off thing. Like this is one of your most successful and accomplished and awarded directors. It feels weird to have him do a spin-off project instead of like a sextuple A project. Like if anybody can handle a big project, a big budget, it's Cory. Like let him handle it. But I just personally would not expect that he's doing the spin-off project. Maybe it's a passion project or something, but I'd be surprised. Continuing on, we'd assume the project has become the focus of the studio's attention since it shipped God of War Ragnarok in 2022. Was it really 22? I guess, yeah. Dude, time is flying by. This is ridiculous. So it's possible this will officially be revealed soon, assuming development is, as Schreier alludes, going well. As for what it entails, that's anyone's guess. Barlog has alluded to the idea of a sci-fi game in the past, but it's unclear whether that's what he is working on. Between the likes of Intergalactic, The Heretic Prophet, Sauros, Marvel's Wolverine, and whatever this turns out to be, it's looking like there's a unique and exciting end to the PS5 generation ahead. Now, what are they working on? What actually is it? Well, as we said at the very top of this, Bloomberg's Jason Schreier said, why does everybody think it's a new IP? Suggesting it might not be. Maybe it's something totally different. Maybe it's something weird and crazy. Well, going back like 2-3 years, there's been a lot of articles. There's been a lot of speculation on what this would be. This article that was posted to Metro back in mid 2024 went through some of this and specifically looked at LinkedIn posts. So as for the makers of God of War, Santa Monica Studio is one of their most important, but they haven't announced anything new since 2022's God of War Ragnarok, although co-director Barlog has made it clear that he won't be directing the next God of War. Is this a direct quote? Okay, because if this is a direct quote, they don't have it sourced. Okay, can somebody while I'm going through this look and Google to see if he's ever said that directly? He might have just said, I'm not working on the next project or whatever, but I don't know. Try Googling it. Link me in the Discord or something if you find an article about it, and tell me in chat. Because if he said he's not working on the next God of War, then it seems like it's a new IP, right? If it's his next big thing, he's directing it, and it's not God of War. Okay, so it's something new. But they don't have a source for that. This is why sourcing's important, kids. In high school, they stressed it. They weren't joking. Instead, he's repeatedly hinted at wanting to make a sci-fi game. And now the LinkedIn page for a Santa Monica Studio developer confirms that whatever they're working on is a new IP. Okay, let's see. The LinkedIn information has already been redacted, but originally said, quote, Santa Monica Studios presented the opportunity of coming back as a character supervisor, looking after the entire character development pipeline on their new IP. So here I am, thrilled to be back working again with the crew and pushing characters in video games together. It's too bad we don't have that post anymore. It's too bad we don't have that. If this is in fact the case, again, I don't know. I don't know if there is a way that you could say it's anything but, I mean, they could have a team working on the next God of War in pre-production. They could have a team working on this new IP, and then Cory could be doing something else. 3 teams seems like a lot for a single studio. It's tough to juggle 3 projects at the same time that are on a AAA scale, but maybe they could. I don't know. I don't know. The description doesn't mention anything about it being sci-fi or otherwise, but being a new IP means it's definitely not God of War. That's fair to say. Despite their importance to Sony, Santa Monica Studio only has around 250 staff, which is relatively small nowadays, but that should still be big enough to work full out on one game and prototype one or two others. Well, yeah, full production on one and then maybe pre-production on others. I think 3 teams with a group of like 250 to 300 is not, that's a lot of work to spread with that much, you know. That's crazy. Whether it's the new IP that's in full production or the next God of War, it's unclear, but given how Cory Barlog has been hinting about a sci-fi game, may be the former. Of course, they were working on a sci-fi game about 10 years ago, codenamed Dark Side. It's the project that was canceled in favor of the God of War reboot and would have apparently involved world exploration, but it's unclear if it's related to this new title. Maybe they rebooted it or something. As acknowledged by this video, it was canceled due to layoffs. This was the tidbit. They didn't even timestamp it. Dude, Metro, what are we doing? Yeah, there's the moment where they talk about the layoffs. Let me see if I can find, I don't remember exactly where it was. That's the reveal. But yeah, they were working on, yeah, here it is. Here it is. Look, I just found it. We did it.
And it ended up being a dream that died, literally, in that moment.
It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do in development is when you sink your heart and soul into something and you realize it's not coming together the way we wanted it to. We need to shift gears and restart. That was kind of the abyss for that team.
So that was pretty devastating in many ways. You know, one of the many big appeals of coming here was to work on a new IP on a small team. So I actually joined that in 17 when it was about 20 people. So that was a very, very difficult time for me. So, yeah.
That's what they're alluding to, is this new IP that was canceled, and maybe they went back to it and rebooted it or something, but it's not super clear. But I mean, let's just take a moment. Just put yourself in that space. Imagine that you've been working on something for years. And then some corporate bigwigs come in, they look at it. It's not working, it's not clicking. And they decide to shut it down. And all of that work gets put on a shelf. Like sometimes it is legitimate because the project just wasn't working out. Sometimes you're working on something and it's like, it's just not clicking, or it's not fun, or it's not like, it's just not working. And all those years of work just go out the dumpster, or out the dumpster, into the dumpster. They still got paid. That's true. But it's also like, there's a couple more layers to this that need to be appreciated. For example, like in the games industry, my understanding from people I've spoken to who work in the industry is a lot of it's about what's on your resume. Similar to like an actor or performer. No director, when you're trying to get a role, cares if you worked on a movie that was canceled. They want to know what movies you were in, that you got cast in, and that went to the theater. You know, they want to know what TV shows you were in. They don't care about canceled projects or projects that never saw the light of day, because they just kind of assume, okay, if you worked on something that never saw the light of day, it was probably bad. That's kind of just the dismissal approach they take. And in the games industry, it's a similar thing. Like if you work 5 years of your life on something that's never seen the light of day, that's just a 5-year hole in your resume. And when you try to go and get a job at a different studio, or you try to go over here or get a promotion or whatever it may be, that does damage to your career prospects, you know, because 5 years is a long time in a career. I mean, that's a good chunk of time. So there's that. And then there's also just the human element. You work on something, pouring your heart and passion into it for 5 years or 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. And for that to just get thrown away, it still sucks, you know? It still sucks. I was talking to a family member they were telling stories of their childhood, and I don't think they realized how toxic it sounded. But they're like, yeah, when I used to misbehave as a child, my father would tell us, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Or if you're stupid, you have to do stupid work. So what he would have them do is literally go out into like the backyard where they had a rock bed, and he would have them shovel all the rocks out and then shovel them all back in. Because he was like, the punishment isn't just the work. The punishment is seeing your time totally wasted. That you did all that work and nothing changed. It's like, bro, that's some crazy, like, super villain shit. Like, that's crazy. That sounds toxic as hell. But that's how he did it. Is he was like, yeah, you did something I didn't like, or you disobeyed or talked back, whatever the punishment was for. Yeah, you're going to just do this one thing, or you're going to go do all this work and then we're going to throw it away. You know, just throw it away. Damn, that makes my job as a rock shoveler sound mundane. Well, if you're shoveling rocks from one place to another, then you're accomplishing something. But if somebody was like, shovel this and then put it back in and nothing changes, it's just meant to like make you feel bad. Isn't that the movie Holes? Maybe that's where he got the idea for it. Maybe that's where he got the idea. It's just like, yeah, you're going to just waste time and accomplish nothing. Even an accomplishment would be a reward. So I'm not even going to give you that, you know? I bet, actually, now that you mention it, I bet he did get the idea for that from that. Yeah, that would be really funny. I'll have to ask. Have you ever seen this? Have you ever seen that movie? Anyway, but I think, like, just in general, as a human, you know, spending 5 years on something, working on it 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and then having it go nowhere just sucks. It just sucks, you know? It sucks. So in a very human way, I can understand how devastating that could be. But that sort of insinuation of what they were working on might suggest that they might have rebooted this project that was codenamed Darkside, and they might be taking another whack at it. Who knows? Who knows? They go on. Then there's Cory Barlog's current Twitter banner, which I'll show you in a second, which has him sitting on a rock on Mars, mimicking a scene from the Watchmen comic where the character Dr. Manhattan is contemplating what to do with his life. And this is it. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good picture too. It's a pretty good picture, honestly. But people are looking at this, be like, oh, he's sending a message that it's a sci-fi game. Maybe. But if he was like, if it was a picture of him in front of a forest, would that mean that we're going to have a game set in a forest? If it's him underwater, does that mean we're going to get Subnautica 3? Like, I don't know. Maybe, but maybe not as well. Like, I just don't think there's much to glean from that. But they go on. Since the LinkedIn information clearly wasn't intended to be made public, it's impossible to guess when Sony might officially announce the new game, but work is clearly underway, so it could potentially happen at any time. I think these are more concept art pieces from that project. Who knows? It looks crazy. And I mean, realistically, just I would think, knowing modern day PlayStation, I'd be very surprised if they're wanting to gamble a ton with like too many projects. I think it makes sense to do another God of War game that's going to print money. So they're probably having one team do pre-production on that or working on it. Did anybody find any results with that Cory Barlog said he's not directing the next one? This actually might unironically be a good time to use Grok, because Grok can scrub all these Twitter posts. Fact check this claim. Let's just see if it can find something. Because I maybe he did say that. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. Maybe it's an extraction shooter. Maybe that's what he's doing. Careful, Grok may call you a slur. Yeah, you got to be careful. Notice I switched back to this camera just in case. Is your shirt Naughty Dog and Santa Monica Studio? Where's it from? Oh yeah, it's Naughty Monica. Yeah, Naughty Monica. It's a whole thing. It's from when Cory was in chat last time, and we kind of made a joke about it. It's still searching. It's still searching. I swear to God, if it just spits me out this Metro article again, it's like, this is what I found, I'm gonna be upset. I'm gonna be mad. Yeah, so it's saying it can't find articles saying that he won't be directing it. This is why you got to be careful when you read these articles, because like people will read this and just be like, oh, so he made clear statements that he won't be directing the next one, but they don't give you any links. They don't give you a timestamp. They don't give you an interview. Like they just say it. They just say it, and so you have to like check to see if there's actually a source. I'm not even a journalist, and I'm double checking first sources and stuff. Like, what is this crap? Why am I doing this? I shouldn't have to. Come on. Come on. It's still digging. It's still trying to find it. I appreciate that it's not just like an instant spit out the answer. Like it's actually trying to find results, but it's false. While Barlog did explicitly state in 2021 that he would not direct God of War Ragnarok, the sequel to 2018's God of War, there is no evidence of him making any such statement about a subsequent God of War title. As of July 2025, no follow-up God of War game has been announced, and Barlog has not publicly addressed his involvement or lack thereof in any potential future entry in the series. You know what I bet? I bet when they had ChatGPT write this article for them, I bet what they did is they found a statement where Cory back in like 2021 was saying, I'm not directing the next God of War, which was true. He was not the director on God of War Ragnarok. But now they're taking that and conflating it with a modern statement of the next game. So he could be. He could be. I don't know. How much do you trust AI? Well, I mean, it's digging and searching for a source that claims or that makes this claim, and it can't find one. So if one of you guys can find a source where he says that he is not directing the next God of War game, and he said that after Ragnarok launched, then we're talking. Then, you know, the claim is proven. But you don't get to just make a claim and provide no evidence. Like, you got to provide a statement where he says something like that. The claim may stem from an outdated or misremembered reporting about Ragnarok, where Barlog did indeed make it clear he wouldn't direct. In the context of 2025, the next God of War would refer to a post-Ragnarok entry, not Ragnarok itself. Dude, yes, exactly. Thank you. Yes. So anyway, I don't think that claim is actually justified. This seems, it seems weird. And I was like, I don't think I've heard that, but sounds like I'm not crazy. If any of you guys find any counterpoints or times where he actually did say that, please let me know. But yeah, I don't think he ever said that. Anyway, continuing on. Realistically, what are they working on? I think they are working on a God of War project of some sort. Maybe that's what Cory is doing, is like the Egyptian one, and it's like a reboot of the reboot. Maybe that's what it is. Or maybe it's something in a new IP. It's the sci-fi game. A lot of us just kind of assumed that he was working on a new thing, but these statements from Jason Schreier kind of give pause and go, actually, yeah, why did we just assume it was a new IP? Maybe it's not. I don't know. But either way, shout out to Naughty Monica for keeping it so locked down that nobody actually knows what they're doing. It's pretty rare nowadays. Nowadays, everything leaks, but they're still keeping it under wraps. Maybe it's the benefit of a smaller team. The fact that they can keep tabs on people a little bit more. I respect it. But we'll see. Either way, we can't wait. We're very excited. Cory strikes a strong balance between gameplay and narrative, and I'm excited for whatever is coming next. And you know, if he is the one behind like the next reboot of God of War to introduce it to realistically the next generation of consoles, I'm here for it. Can't wait. Very excited. And I mean, I'm sure it's also daunting if you're trying to figure out like, how do we take God of War, this thing that now everybody's like fallen in love with again, but how do we reinvent it so it doesn't just feel like the same game over again, but with a different coat of paint? How do we change it in a way that's impactful? It's a tall order, but it's also their job. So I can't wait to see it, but we'll find out. Yeah, now we got Mafia. We got to talk about Mafia. We got to talk about Mafia. You better believe it. You better believe it. When we getting the trilogy remasters? I don't know if we are or if it's just going to be like the first one. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, buddy. Make it a live service slot game. Yeah, or just an extraction shooter. Let's just jump straight to the point. Yep. Straight to the point. Extraction shooter or hero-based shooter. Let's go for it. Okay. You guys ready? We're going to talk about the thing. I don't know what is this crown badge thing next to your name? Is that like for giving the most, having the most gifted or something? Is that what it is? I don't know what that is. Oh, top fans. Oh, it's okay. Okay, so YouTube put in a new XP system. There's a leaderboard, a place for fans to stand out in the community. The top 3 get special badges in chat. It resets every stream, so you can always try again. How do you get on the leaderboard? You need to collect XP by sending live chat messages and or super chats and super stickers. Okay, so that's apparently a new thing they're doing. Okay, well, there you go. Sohab is number 1, Bite Size is number 2, and Lion is number 3. There you go. Shout out to those guys. Props. Hells yeah. There you go. Who knew YouTube's doing that now? I guess they're doing that. Let's talk about Mafia. Let's talk about it. Here we go. New segment. Talking about Mafia and how IGN sucks. Lithographer doesn't like when I do this, but I don't care. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's hit it. Mafia, the Old Country exclusive hands-on preview, IGN first. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Even after the dumpster fire, that was their first reveal for Mafia, they were given the option to do a hands-on preview, exclusive hands-on preview. They played allegedly 3 hours of the game, and they're going to tell us about it. Now, when I say that their last showing was disastrous, I mean that they just overcompressed the ever-living hell out of the gameplay that they shared to the point where it actually kind of kickstarted a bit of a scandal. And the developers actually had to come out and post their own like high quality version of the gameplay because this was so overcompressed. So since the last time we talked about it, they actually came out with their own 4K version of the footage that did not have this problem where everything was so crazy compressed you can't see any detail. And the new version looks way, way, way better. I mean, seriously, it's so compressed that numbers are disappearing into the background. Like, come on, IGN. It's absolutely egregious. They should be ashamed of themselves. Just as I thought, trash. Anyway, they got access to an exclusive hands-on preview, probably as part of the month of July marketing deal that they did. So it's set in stone before all this happened, but we're going to look at it in full 4K. We're going to, crank the settings and try to give it the best possible outcome. And we're going to see what they thought of it. And to their credit, they're actually giving people access to the game, which I wasn't sure they were going to do. Thank you, Jack.
Jack donated $10 through Super Chat. They can't keep getting away with it.
I know. They can't, but they do. I think what it is like a lot of the people that work at these marketing firms that do the marketing for like a Mafia game or a 2K game, they are like industry guys. So a lot of them have known the guys over at IGN for decades. Like they've known them for 20 years going back into like the early 2000s. And so it's just like, yeah, if you want to promote your game, you go to IGN. Even though, no joke, if they gave this exclusive gameplay showing to like Digital Foundry and let them put it out at full quality, I think it would work way better. It'd be received way better. And I probably honestly would get more views on YouTube at least. Like, It's literally, they just have to get over this idea that the only way you promote it is with the big, like, established outlet, because the established outlet, IGN, objectively does a worse job than some of these indie outlets. I know Digital Foundry is owned by a parent company, but you get what I mean. Like, go to a team that actually knows what they're doing instead of just like the generic IGN team. But anyway, continuing on. Jacob's gonna have a fun time editing around my anti-IGN ramblings. But let's see their hands-on preview. What do they got? Tell me about it.
Before I sat down to play about 3 hours of Mafia: The Old Country.
This is the guy that gave Alien Isolation like a 4. We were just talking about that earlier on stream. Ryan McCaffrey, that's the guy. Shout out.
Hangar 13 president Nick Baines repeatedly mentioned his team's desire for players to finish this prequel story. And so with that goal in mind, the latest Mafia game turns back the clock both chronologically, it's set in the early 1900s in Sicily, and in game design as well.
It also makes me think that the game's going to be short. Doesn't it? That sounds like, if one of your chief priorities is everybody needs to finish it, it sounds like it's going to be short. But again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it definitely sounds like it's going to be short.
Mafia 3, though very good, went full open world, and the developers seemed to feel similarly about it in hindsight as players did. It just didn't fit Mafia well. The first 2 Mafias were gorgeous, narrative-driven, linear games set against the backdrop of a stunning and highly detailed world that, while explorable, really only existed as a beautiful backdrop for your main mission, rather than trying to keep you busy with menial tasks and side quests.
Yeah, it's the set in which the play takes place. You know, it's not real furniture, it's not a real house, it's not a real place. It's meant to be the backdrop. It's meant to give you an environment for the story to play out within, to frame it properly. If you start poking and prodding too much, you'll realize the walls are made of styrofoam and the picture frames are empty and stuff like that. But for what it's supposed to be, it works. I agree.
In fact, Baines seemed to suggest that the positive reception to 2020's remake of the first game, Mafia Definitive Edition, served as something of an inspiration to and North Star 4, this 4th entry in the mainline series.
Good.
I'm pleased to report that after playing through chapters 3, 4, and 5 of The Old Country, the development team has seemingly succeeded in returning Mafia to its gameplay roots. This is, like Mafia 1 and 2, a story-first, not open-world action-adventure. And interestingly, your primary upgradable weapon isn't a gun, though they are certainly here, but rather your knife. Stealth is fully supported, and even better, it's only going to be $50 at launch, or as I like to call it, a reverse Randy Pitchford price tag.
I think that if they're saying they played 3 hours of the game, they got through chapters 3, 4, and 5, or whatever he said. That makes me think that it's probably, I want to know how many chapters, because if each chapter is an hour long, 12 chapters, okay, we're playing. Because I think a lot of people are saying 5 hours, too short. 10 to 12, I think we're good. And that's my perspective. If they can hit like 10 to 12, I'm a happy camper, especially for $50. I think that that's fair. But if it's like only 5 hours and we're dealing with like an Order 1886 situation, then you might have a problem. But if it's 10 to 12, then I think we're good.
When I first picked up the controller, playing on a high-end PC, which is where the footage you're seeing here came from, it's the early 1900s and late teenager Enzo Favara has recently escaped the sulfur mines he spent his childhood laboring in and started to become his own free man while working in the vineyard of Don Teresi, a Sicilian mafioso who protects the people and property of the region from the thieving bandits that lurk in the hills in exchange for monthly protection payments, of course.
A pleasure. as always.
I really like how the Old Country tries to depict Enzo's progression from a very innocent kid into a bound by blood, fully vetted member of the Teresi outfit who's got the green light to do anything he thinks needs to be done for the good of the family. We see this play out in Chapter 3, where Enzo's first taste of life outside the vineyard with the Teresis comes when he's brought along on a series of collections by Luca, the Don's right-hand man, and Cesare, another made member of the family. Luca and Cesare are essentially the mafioso version of an angel and devil on your shoulders, where Luca preaches patience and using violence only as a last resort, while Cesare is more of a shoot first and ask questions later kind of guy.
We let him act tough in front of the boy.
And then we remind him of his obligations.
For example, on our first collection stop, we visited Marco, an olive farmer. Marco always pays on time, but on this occasion, he's late. Luca gives me an unloaded gun.
Death. Straight away.
To be used only as an intimidation tactic to get Marco to pay up.
Yours is unloaded. You give him a chance to be brave.
But Cesare told me, quote, an extra pair of hands helps jog their memory about the late payment. Side note, I think I saw more fruit in the 3 hours of playing Mafia the Old Country than I've seen in any game ever.
So just there, it means we'll feel fruity when we play it. No, just there, 3 hours means 3 chapters, roughly an hour apiece. Like, I think, okay, we might be good. Also, it's not that common for, like, if we go with what some people have suggested, which is that the game's only like 5 hours long. It's not that common that they're going to let you play like 60-70% of the game in a preview. Like, that's not that common. So I'm getting the feeling more and more that they might actually have more on the bone than we expected, which is a very good thing.
We might need a new Game Awards category for this. Ultimately, no bullets were fired nor punches thrown, and I got the Don's money from Marco's safe after finding the combination nearby. I appreciate that Hangar 13 put thought into Enzo's journey into the Teresi crime family here, and didn't just instantly let you become a murdering psychopath. Things escalated slightly on our second stop, though, after we rode our horses across the Sicilian countryside to the farm of Mr. Bangalino, whose workers, led by a man named Manuela, are on strike.
We can't have strikes around here, Manuele. You and your friends need to get back to work.
By the way, I can't emphasize how much I enjoyed staring at the countryside while riding to each destination on this mission. Mafia the Old Country ditches the proprietary engine it's used in all 3 previous Mafia games and moves to Unreal Engine 5 for this installment. To be fair, the previous engine was no slouch. Mafia 2 in particular was a strikingly good-looking game at the time it came out, and Unreal maintains the series' reputation for delivering lovely locations. The perfect blue skybox and pillowy clouds that sit atop the rolling green hills and farmlands did a great job of establishing the Old Country's Sicilian setting. I can't wait to see more of this world in the rest of the campaign. Anyway, Manuela pulled a knife, introducing me to what is, as I mentioned earlier, perhaps the weapon that Mafia the Old Country puts the most importance on.
So we have a slash, thrust, giggity, strike, dodge, and parry. B-Y-A-X. Okay. I'm tracking.
You can unlock and earn new knives, and each has unique modifying properties, giving you a reason beyond the cosmetic appearance of each blade to choose a specific one that suits your combat preferences. You've got a lot of moves in a knife fight: thrusts, slashes, parries, and dodges. Like in the Batman Arkham games, heavy attacks can't be parried and must instead be dodged. And there was still one final collection error.
Oh, I will say this environment, look behind the camera. That looks nice. I like that. It's the soft shadows, the soft lighting. I love that stuff. That looks clean. I will say, we've seen mostly what seems to be PC footage so far. I don't think we've seen hardly any, if any, console footage. So, performance on consoles is going to be a question mark for sure. Historically, Unreal Engine games kind of like this. they tend to run at pretty low resolutions on console, and they just use like whatever FSR or whatever it is to crank it up. So yeah, I might maintain cautious optimism on PC for performance, but for console, I'd be more skeptical.
And to run in Chapter 3, and as you may have guessed by now, the cannoli hit the fan on this.
Yeah, he's playing with an Xbox controller, yeah.
A visit to a farmer named Fichera sees him yell at us in a reversal because his new water pump was stolen by bandits, and the protection he pays Don Teresi handsomely for didn't protect his valuable property. It's finally here that the patient Luca tells Enzo that he's got free reign to put live ammo in his gun and not be afraid to pull the trigger, as these lawless bandits were effectively putting their hands in the Don's pocket by stealing from Fichera.
We can't have them.
This leads to a hunt up the hillside through 2 separate bandit camps before we finally squared off with, and shot many bullets into, the dozen or so wayward thieves that stood between us and the water.
Also, this is cool. Did you see what just happened? Did you see what just happened? Watch Enzo's right arm.
Into the dozen or so wayward thieves that stood between us and the water pump.
You see that? When he heals using the bandage, it stays on his arm. Just like in The Last of Us Part 2. I kind of like that. I like that little touch.
They stole. The familiar third-person cover-based shooting gameplay will be instantly recognizable not just to Mafia series regulars, but also anyone who's played a good third-person action game in the past decade. The Old Country isn't breaking the mold here, but the gameplay systems are comfortable, effective, and fun. Less comfortable, at least for me, was the cutscene that followed the death of the last of the bandits, when Cesare cuts off the finger of one of the bandits, takes his gold ring as a bonus payment for his troubles, and tosses the detached digit into the well.
Could be pure gold. He's got no use for it now.
Dude, that's hardcore. You're gonna kill the dude by throwing him in a well, and you still cut off his finger just to get to the ring? That's hardcore, dude. That's hardcore. I mean, I will say, I really like how Mafia has done this before. They did it with 1. They do it with 2, of course, as well. It was one of the tonal things with 3, where 3, like Lincoln Clay just comes back and he's like, let's just kill everybody. It's like, there's no build up, you know? One of the things I like about the Mafia games is that you start as just like a somewhat innocent guy who's trying to do right by his family or for his mother and sister or for, you know, the girl he's got an interest in, whatever it may be. And so he starts doing this work, and then it slowly kind of corrupts him and gets him into more trouble. It's why I like Mafia 2's story so much. Yeah, the rags to riches story, but it's specifically, it's like starting with rags, and it's not just chasing wealth. It's also often they're chasing the wealth for like the security it brings or the safety it brings or just the ability to take care of their family. And then at some point later in the story, they kind of realize that they are willing to give up all of those things. They're willing to give up their family. They're willing to give up everything else if they can keep the power and the money. And that's when they realize they've been corrupted, and it offers them a chance at redemption at the very end where they do give it all up or turn on the people that corrupted them, whatever it may be. It's a tale as old as time, but it works really well. And I love seeing it. And it's always fascinating to see how they handle that character arc and everything. And in this case, I think it's going to be a very similar thing in a good way, where it's going to be that rags to riches, literally rags to riches story. And at some point, you know, there will probably be the all is lost moment where you've got to decide, or the character decides how he wants to handle it. But this feels much more Mafia than Mafia 3 did. Because again, Mafia 3 just kind of felt, yeah, maybe innocent is a stretch. Yeah, probably like naive. Like in 2, or even 1, like Tommy's no, like they're not like school children, but you got what I mean? Like they don't go into it wanting to cut off fingers and toss people into wells. You know, that's not what they're trying to do. But by the end of it, they're like, yeah, let's just light this dude on fire. Whatever.
Enzo.
Isabella.
With all of your
Isabella.
onboarding completed in Chapter 3, the next section of Mafia: The Old Country saw one massive mission play out, involving the Don's daughter Isabella, who Enzo clearly has reciprocated feelings for.
The Don's not gonna like this. The Don's not gonna like it. Maybe bring him some gabagool as a peace offering.
Isabella, who Enzo clearly has reciprocated feelings for.
Keep an eye on me. You'll be lucky if you can keep up.
And Gennaro, the son of Baron Fontanella, who's arguably an even bigger fish in the Sicilian mafioso sea than Don Teresi is. Gennaro wants to show off his fancy new car, and he also wants to woo Isabella, so he sets up a picnic date in the nearby ruins. It starts with Enzo having to babysit the gathering and ends with a kidnapping, a car chase involving you on a horse, a trail of bodies left in Enzo's wake, a stabbed, double-crossing business partner, a happy Don Teresi, and an even more smitten with Enzo, Isabella. It started quietly, with Gennaro driving Cesare in his car to the ruins, and Isabella insisting on riding there on horseback alongside Enzo. Yes, you'll be able to choose and ride your own horse in Mafia: The Old Country, with each steed even having its own personality and characteristics. Based on what I played, it didn't necessarily seem like your choice of horse would materially affect gameplay, but it was a welcome way to add a bit of life and meaning to the narrative nevertheless.
Here we are.
Sure. I will say at the top, people are like, holy spoilers, Batman. And I'm kind of conflicted on that point, because yes, he is spoiling everything. No, but I the reason I'm conflicted over that is because one of the frustrations we've had with this game is that they really have not shared much at all. Like, we're still debating whether the game is 4 hours long, you know, and to be only a few weeks out from launch and to still have that question is not typically what you want. Like, there's a lot of question marks over the game, and this is answering a lot of them at the cost of spoilers, but to a certain extent, I'm not sure how much you could explain without spoiling some elements and showcasing it. So I think it's just par for the course. I am surprised that they are so open to IGN being so specific, because like they could offer just, only use gameplay from the first hour of your gameplay. You can describe stuff, but please steer clear of story spoilers, and they could have done that. But they're seemingly open to this much being revealed, which again makes me think that they have a lot more to this than we thought, which is a good thing. Because also, everything we're hearing, he's saying he played through the first 5 chapters, and everything he's described thus far really sounds like tutorial sections, you know? Like, it really sounds, okay, we're going to learn how to handle bandits, you know, because the bandits broke in and we're establishing the relationship with Dawn. That's like one of the first things that you do. And then, you know, with this one, you're establishing the relationship between you and Isabella. And so we have to establish that. So all of this sounds like Act 1, basically, to me, which if Act 1 is already taking you through like 5 chapters and, you know, a solid 4 or 5 hours of gameplay total, that I think works. I think that's a decent pace to clip along with. So it's actually, even though, yes, he's spoiling some tidbits that would have been fun to discover, I do think that it's probably doing more good than harm for the game, because it's telling us a lot more about it, and it's making the game much more real, because up until this point, it's been so locked down that we just don't know much anything about it.
A pit stop en route to the ruins showed off the camera you can take pictures of scenic spots with.
Have you ever used one of these before?
Unfortunately, it was the only opportunity I had to use it in the 3 hours I played, but hopefully you get to use it semi-regularly over the course of the campaign. You're also introduced to the driving mechanics of the Old Country after you rendezvous with Cesare and Isabella in the form of a low-stakes race around the ruins, perhaps a nod to one of Mafia 1's most infamous missions.
Oh yeah.
But while Cesare and
this one's probably completable though. What just happened with this crop?
Enzo are messing around.
Oh, did that glitch? Watch the lower black bars. The lower bar shows up before the top one does.
Mafia 1's most infamous missions. But while Cesare and Enzo are messing around with Gennaro's car during his date with Isabella,
that was weird.
Bandits, I won't spoil their identity here, swooped in with guns blazing and kidnapped them both. They were really only after Gennaro, and having to take Isabella as well proved to be, well, you can imagine it ended up complicating things severely for the kidnappers. I got to wield a shotgun in this.
So that, what he just showed was like one of the big, like, didn't see it? You didn't see it? Okay, what do we... Let me rewind. Okay.
But while...
Right here. See this massive black bar? But no black bar at the top?
Cesare and Enzo are messing...
And then the black bar shows up. You see? You see?
Mafia 1's most infamous missions.
Or am I just like having a mental breakdown? Is this not here? Like the big black bar and then the black bar pops
While
up at the top.
Cesare and Enzo are messing...
Now the top black bar shows up. Okay, yes. You guys see what I'm saying? Okay. But this, you're about to see, these quick shots are one of the things, funnily enough, Digital Foundry mentioned this with the Witcher 4 preview. But it's a trait of Unreal Engine. And if somebody in chat has worked with Unreal Engine and knows why this is, please tell me. It's obviously video editing. I mean, it might be. I don't know why IGN would cut in a black bar into the bottom of the frame. Like it cuts into the UI. I mean, maybe this is IGN and they cut it this way. So I don't know. At this point, I wouldn't put it past IGN doing something stupid like that. You never know. But anyway, whether this is IGN or the game glitching, I have no idea at this point. Unfortunately, it could very well just be IGN. But having said that, with this, you'll see it with the quick cuts. They mentioned this, Digital Foundry mentioned this with the Witcher 4 preview, where basically every time the camera changes, there's a stutter for like a frame where it holds the frame one extra like frame. And so it creates just a slight delay when the cameras are swapping back and forth. And you might not even notice it if you're not like aware that it happens. But it's just jarring enough that it makes everything feel like a little stuttery when the camera is swapping very quickly back and forth like this, just like that. But again, you kind of have to have the eye for it. You got to be able to see it. It's a typical Unreal Engine 5 thing. Yeah, exactly. It's very common for them. It's just something they do.
I got to wield a shotgun in this segment and found that it packed...
Like, to be clear, you get used to it quickly, but it's still too bad that Epic Games hasn't figured out a way to deal with it, because you'd think they'd figure it out, but...
A satisfying punch. There was no bringing a knife, let alone stealth chokeouts, to a gunfight here. I brought Enzo in with an itchy trigger finger. After the aforementioned chase, I was able to run down their wagon and gun down plenty of the kidnapping cadre and rescue Isabella, who rewarded Enzo with a kiss.
Aww.
Don't tell the Don. But while Cesare brought Isabella back home, Enzo still had to get Gennaro back, because returning without either one would leave Enzo equally dead from either father. It's this section that allowed me to really unleash my inner Sam Fisher, as it was set up for stealth rather nicely in an open area, letting me pick my path and remain undetected. If you give me a stealth option in a game, I'm gonna take it 9 times out of 10, and Mafia the Old Country was no different.
Yeah.
The developers later told me that they don't expect most players to make it through the entire area, which was admittedly quite large and stocked with a ton of bad guys, without alerting anyone. I took this as a personal challenge, and while I held out for quite a while, eventually I did get spotted and had to start shooting.
Well, we do know that there's a mechanic to drag bodies and move them, so I'm wondering how like complex the system is. Like, are there places to dump the bodies? Are there places to place them within reeds throughout the map? Like, I could see having some like hardcore stealth runs being kind of fun. So I'm wondering how robust that is. But if they're not expecting most players to be able to get all the way through it, might just be because it's tough, but still.
But while you are in the Old Country's stealth segments, basic Splinter Cell rules are in effect. You crouch to make less noise, throw coins or picked up objects like bottles to distract bad guys, and can either knife them quickly or try to strangle them unconscious, which triggers a button-mashing QTE you've got to be quick about lest they slip out of your grasp. There are even conveniently placed empty containers around that you can hide the bodies in so that they're not discovered. The Old Country doesn't break any new ground here, but in my experience, it does familiar stealth gameplay reasonably well. I do appreciate that there are upgradable bead slots on your rosary that affect gameplay, like this one that dampens the sound of your footsteps.
That's the most Sicilian customization thing I've ever seen in my life, and I love it. I love it. I mentioned when we went to Minnesota, like early July, to visit my wife's family. It was because, partially because her grandma is turned 95. And what she does like all day, she will sit looking out over the lake, and all day she ties rosaries. It's all she does, like all day. She'll bake. She makes a mean molasses cookie, by the way. But she will just tie rosaries all day. She'll just have bags full of them. And so when you go and visit her, she'll just like hand you 15 of them. It's quite funny. But yeah, shout out rosaries.
And I appreciated those dampened footsteps until I reached the last man standing for the kidnappers, Messina, whose real story you'll learn when you play the game yourself. Enzo challenged him to a knife fight, which Messina accepted by dropping his gun and engaging Enzo on his terms. I was having trouble timing my parries just right in the ensuing battle, but I kept enough blood in Enzo's body for him to emerge as the victor in the fight.
It's a weird way of saying that. Is that not weird? I kept enough blood in his body. I don't like that. That's no. Did I hear it weird? I'm pretty sure.
I was having trouble timing my parries just right in the ensuing battle, but I kept enough blood in Enzo's body for him to emerge as the victor in the fight.
Yeah, I've never heard a human being say anything like that before. That feels weird, man. Not a big deal. Just sounds weird. Do we get buffs for attending mass? Dude, that would be actually kind of fun. That would actually be kind of cool. If it's like, oh, you went to confession, so now you have a buff to your conscious, like, self-awareness. I don't know, but they could do something like that. That could be funny.
Side note, I died a couple times during my 3 hours while playing on normal, but there are multiple difficulty levels to choose from if you want to ratchet things up or down. And after returning to the vineyard, Don Teresi, after hearing of Isabella's kidnapping, tells Enzo he wants Messina alive.
You put the rest of those bastards in the ground. Messina you bring back to me alive.
Whoops. Yeah, about that. But ultimately, I did good, the boss said, and Isabella made her feelings quite clear with the smile on her face directed at Enzo.
Quite clear.
Chapter 5, the final...
So this is what we've already seen from IGN's terrible, no good, awful gameplay cut. This was the sequence in the villa.
Final one I got to play let me again flex my stealth muscles by tasking me with infiltrating the home of the man ultimately responsible for calling for the Gennaro, and by collateral damage extension, Isabella kidnapping, and dragging him out of his house and back to my boss. Or, put another way, to kidnap the kidnapper. This mission could truly have been pulled straight from a Splinter Cell game, as I had my choice of ways up the hillside to the large villa at the top. I kept it quiet, stabbing my way through the human obstacles in front of me before eventually getting into the house and to my target. I wouldn't be so lucky on the way out though, as by the time I walked out with my target in tow, everyone still left standing knew what was going on, and I had to shoot my way out. As to what happened to that man I brought to the Don, well, you'll find out. I left my extended hands-on session with Mafia the Old Country with very few concerns. In roughly 3 hours, I played 3 chapters, but how many chapters are there?
Good
Whatever
question.
the number
Oh, he's not going to say.
is, it didn't feel like a story that was going to be wrapped up in a tidy 6 hours. I don't know how long The Old Country ultimately is, but when factoring in the studio president's comment about wanting everyone to see the end credits roll, as well as the $50 price tag, it's safe to presume that this won't be a 40 or even 30-hour game. But for my money,
I mean, I'm happy if it's 12, honestly. Like 12, I'll be happy. But then again, like it's funny because I would have said the exact same thing if I played the first 2 hours, 3 hours of The Order 1886. I would have been like, this doesn't feel like a story that's going to wrap up in 6 hours. And it didn't. It just ended. It was just over. Like, yeah, no, that was true. And it just didn't end. It didn't wrap up in 10 hours. It just stopped. Just full stop. So I really hope, again, this is why it's good to keep expectations low. So when they surpass your expectations, you're blown away. Do you guys remember us talking about Expedition 33 like 6 months ago? I remember I did a whole segment where I was like, I just feel like it's a small team of like 30 something people and the production quality is crazy high. I'm braced for this thing to be like 8 hours long, maybe. And I'll be, if it's there, it's a small indie team, I can support it. I just hope there's more of it, but I'm guessing it's going to be like 8 hours. And then the game ended up having dozens upon dozens upon dozens of hours of content. And it was such an amazing surprise. And it made me love the game even more because I was expecting, just a little bit. And I got a ton. And so with this, I'm going into it expecting just a little bit. And if all they deliver is a little bit, I'll be like, okay, yeah, it's what I thought. But if they deliver a lot, I'm way more into it, I get really excited by that. Sup, AC Landmarks, good to see you.
that's fine. I'm a dad with a job.
I'm a dad. I guess he's gonna be a dad, guys. He already is.
I'm good with Mafia the Old Country being a game I can get through in a weekend or two. And more importantly, I'm now quite confident I'm going to have a lot of fun playing through this one, however long it lasts.
Hey!
The gameplay mechanics are all solid if familiar, with enjoyable stealth, shooting, knife combat, and driving. And perhaps the most important ingredient in a Mafia game, the story, had me engaged and eager to see where it was gonna go. It'll be good to get back to a Mafia 1 and 2 vibe again.
Oh, see, it's those little stutters that I think are just a little jarring.
Where it was gonna go. It'll be good to
this right here. Watch when he comes back and he hits him and see the pause.
get back to a Mafia 1 and 2 vibe.
That little stutter right there. Not crazy long, but it holds for an extra few frames. Like probably, let me see. 1, 2, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
2 vibe again. It's been a long time. For more on Mafia the Old Country, don't miss our exclusive gameplay from last week, as well as the official story trailer. And
it's okay, you can miss it. Go watch it on the actual Mafia channel. It looks way better. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think the preview, this has done a large amount of good for the selling the game. I think this was a good preview in that pursuit. I do think it's surprising to see how much they were comfortable with IGN sharing. Because again, you got to remember, yeah, we can make jokes. IGN is just, spoiling everything. But they will not say anything the devs are not comfortable with them saying. If the devs say, don't show the sequence on horseback, they're not allowed to show it. If they say, don't show the cutscene where they're talking about this or that, they won't show it. This is how this works. It's part of the agreement when you go, you sign the embargo and you agree to certain things being shown and not being shown. So for example, they might be saying, don't show the menus because we didn't see a whole lot in the menus. We saw a couple of shots of the menus, but maybe, they don't want to share too much of that. So whatever is being said, the developers, the people making the game feel like it's not going to spoil your experience with it. That's at least historically how these things work. I still get the feeling like this is going to be, maybe like a 12-hour game. I think, Definitive Edition was 10 hours? Oh, maybe 12. How long to beat Mafia Definitive Edition? Yeah, Definitive Edition was about 10 and a half hours. If you did all the side stuff too, is 13. Completion is 24. That, I think, would be a solid amount of time for something like this. And I at least would be happy with that. I understand there's some people in chat who are like, no, I want more than that with my $50. And that's totally fine. This literally is one of those things where it is subjective. Like, if you feel $50 for a Mafia narrative game is fair, if you like enjoy these types of games, that's awesome. Good for you. But if you're somebody that's like, I can spend $50 on Elden Ring Night Rain and get a lot more hours out of that, that's okay too. Yeah, your money, your choice. Yeah, it's totally fine. Like, it's just up to you. It's your taste and your preference. I'm just telling you from my perspective, I like these kinds of games, and I'm okay if they hit that like 10, 12 hour mark. I'll be a happy camper. Because it seems like everything else is being done really solidly. The one piece of the puzzle, though, that is still very, very present that I pointed out a handful of times as we've gone through this. This is an Unreal Engine 5 game in the PS5 era, and that means that there's a lot of stutters. And this is running on like a high-end PC. Now, it could be, some PC ports of Unreal games struggle more than the console versions. Maybe the console version is even more optimized. I would think that they'd be showcasing that if that were the case instead of the PC port. But I think console performance is one side of this that I'm a little nervous about, but we'll see. It's something you'll get used to. It still makes it far from ideal, but sequences like this look beautiful. Like, this is gorgeous, but if it's stuttering every time a camera angle changes, that's also kind of frustrating and annoying. So we'll see. Keep an eye on it. I can't wait, though. I really hope they nail this. I really hope they pull it off, because Hangar 13 has been through hell over the last 10 years or so. Waves upon waves of layoffs. Just back in 2022, you may not believe me. I'll pull up an article, because you probably aren't going to believe me. Let's see. Let me see if I can find the... Here. Do you guys know the definition of decimation? To decimate. Okay. To decimate is to kill, destroy, or remove a large percentage of, or specifically kill 1 in every 10 of a group of soldiers as punishment for the whole group. So, remove a 10th of it, basically, is the historical meaning of it. What happened to Hangar 13 was beyond decimation just 3 years ago. Okay. Just 3 short years ago. In 2022, May of 2022, in the last 24 hours, 2K Games subsidiary Hangar 13 has laid off dozens of employees across its global offices, with reportedly up to 50 employees dismissed from the Novato, California office that created Mafia 3. They only had 87 employees. They fired 50 of the 87 employees. That's bad. So if they can manage to pull this off, it will be a phoenix rising from the ashes story. It really will be. It'll be remarkable, because that's where they're coming from. 3 short years ago, that's what they were dealing with. Well over half of their entire studio gone. But then they've come back and they're starting to figure this out. I mean, I really hope they make a comeback and nail this, because it would be an amazing story. Just like we were kind of rooting for BioWare. I was hoping BioWare would pull that off. I hope they pull this off. I don't want to see more layoffs. I don't want to see more flops. I want to see more good games. Shocker. So we'll see. I'm really rooting for them. I hope they pull it off. And yeah, I mean, I love my Mafia games. They just need to nail it. They need to do it well. 50 out of 87 is 57.4% of the office, to be precise. Thank you, Burn. Thank you. Jeff, thank you for the 5. Hey, Luke, you looking forward to Ready or Not release on consoles? I never played on PC, so I can't speak from experience. I wouldn't say I'm like actively looking forward to it. My schedule's pretty packed without it, so I might try it with friends or something, but we probably would have played on PC anyways. Excuse me. A dumpster fire is fun to watch, though. A dumpster fire that's representative of something, or where they like had it coming and deserved to turn into a dumpster fire. Like when you see a Saints Row reboot and how like snotty and pretentious that they were with everybody, or like a Forspoken or a Concord, like, or a Suicide Squad. Unfortunately, there's a lot of examples. Those games like deserved to fail in many ways. So when they failed, it was kind of like a satisfying dumpster fire to watch, because you're like, yeah, I hate what that game represented, so I'm glad it's failing. And I think that's why a lot of people kind of would root for it to fail and root for the downfall of like Suicide Squad. On the flip side, if a game just doesn't come together and it's just kind of bad, then it's not as funny or entertaining. It just gets sad. You know, like for example, in that Gollum game. That Gollum game, there was a lot of love there. Like, I really do believe the team that made that genuinely wanted that game to be good, and they worked at it and they tried really hard. But it just didn't come together. Shout out to Luke of a few years ago. Because I really do believe the team that made this loved Lord of the Rings and wanted this to be really good. They just didn't have the resources. They didn't have the employees or the talent or whatever it was to pull this off. And so it just kind of was a dumpster fire at the end of the day, which is too bad. But I really do think that they poured a lot of love into this. It just didn't come together. You know, it just wasn't a good game. But it wasn't because it like represented something horrible. It was just a team that got in way over their head. You know? That's all I'm saying. Let's see. So they're trying to avenge the Thanosing, you say? Yeah, I mean, kinda. If they can pull off Mafia the Old Country and pop off, and it does well, it's reviewed well, and it sells well, especially at the lower price point and very minimal marketing budget as well, they could get greenlit to do a bigger budget, crazy AAA Mafia game that we get at the top of the next generation. And I'm down for that. I would love to see that, assuming that it's good. But they got to pull it off. I mean, they have to pull this off. You know, they got homaged. Yeah. So I hope that they pull it off, because I don't think they deserve to deal with what they've had to deal with. Like, it's been a disaster. And what's crazy, this is going to surprise you. How many copies? Do not Google. Google is cheating, okay? How many copies do you think Mafia 3, the colossal flop, disaster, how many copies do you think that sold in the first week? How much do you think? Because typically a flop, you hear like a couple 100,000 copies, you know, like they sold barely enough to like make a divot, you know, the Steam numbers just a little bloop or something, right? Mafia 3, it launched in October of 2016, and the reviews were terrible. I mean, the reviews were atrocious. PC 62 out of 100, PS4 68, Xbox One 67, 5 out of 10 from Destructoid, 6.5, 6.75 from Game Informer. But you know how it sold? It outsold Mafia 2 in the UK during its launch period by 58%. And a month after launch, in November, under a month after launch, Take-Two announced that the game had shipped 4.5 million units in its first week, setting a new launch record for 2K. They still sold 4.5 million copies in the first week. That's crazy. That's wild. But it's why we've said like Mafia is a big franchise. Mafia has a lot of fans in it that you may not realize. Like it has big mass market appeal. That is not as in tune with like Krabby Cat videos, even though that Krabby Cat video did gangbuster numbers. We all remember that one, right? Mafia 3 Krabby Cat. Yeah, 6 million views. We all remember this and just showcasing how broken the game was. Because it was pretty broken. I couldn't play it for like years because it kept glitching out for me and crashing. But this game still sold 4.5 million copies in its first week at like full price. That's wild. But it's because these games have big mass market appeal. Now, it did not have a whole lot of legs on it. It didn't like sell ridiculously well over the next 10 years or anything. It did fine. After 3 years in early 2020, they announced it had sold 7 million copies. And they specifically phrased it as sold 7 million copies, not as it did 7 million units or we had 7 million players like Ubisoft might sometimes say. They said they sold 7 million copies. And I mean, that's solid. That's a good number for any game to hit 7 million. That's remarkable. That's crazy. But, you know, still it just, I think it did a lot of brand reputation. They were really worried about the long-term effects of Mafia and that they might have tarnished the reputation of the franchise. And I think that was a point of concern for them, but look at that. But yeah, it still sold pretty well. That was one thing that surprised me when I looked into it this week was that Mafia 3 actually sold decently well. Like, not even decently well. It sold well. I mean, 4.5 million copies. There's a lot of games that would kill for 4.5 million copies. I mean, that's good. That's very good. Now, was everybody who bought it happy with their purchase? Probably not. But they bought it. Byron, thank you for the 5. It would be awesome if the combined Mafia genres, or if they combined, I think they combined the Mafia genre with L.A. Noire detective style Donnie Brasco game. I think they could do all sorts of stuff like that. I'd be down for it. Yeah, different expectations concerning it took Expedition 33 about that much for 3.3 million. Well, and you also have to remember the industry is notably bigger today than it was 10 years ago or 9 years ago. Like, I don't know exactly what it would convert to, but 4.5 million copies 9 years ago might equate to like 5.5 to 6 million units today. Like, it's a good number. There's no way to beat around the bush. 4.5 million copies in 2016 is a good number to get. That is a well-performing game. Despite it being broken and garbage. But I think it also was a really expensive game to make, and I think they marketed it a lot. So, it's not that simple as just like, oh, well, then therefore they made a profit. Not necessarily. Okay. But anyway, I'm rooting for them. I hope they pull off Mafia. It'd be really cool to see them nail it, but we'll see. That's $420 million they made at $60 a copy. I mean, take it in. I mean, especially 2016 dev costs. Like The Witcher 3 was considered a pretty expensive game, and that cost $80 million to make in 2015. So Mafia 3 probably didn't cost significantly more than that. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they made a profit on it. Yeah, 30% cut from retailers, sure, marketing budgets, all that, but still. Did Mafia 3 have a good story? It had a good story, but it had bad pacing, and there'd be moments where like, ooh, I'm into the story, and they're like, okay, go grind out open world activities for 5 hours, and then come back to me and you unlock the next main story mission or whatever. It killed its own pacing repeatedly. It was really frustrating. Dead Space Remake was sad. Great game, but didn't live up to EA's expectations. Yeah, I mean, it's just... That was one where I was like, I don't think the first game or the OG game plays that bad. Like, I don't think it... it wasn't one of those remakes I think that was super necessary. Like there's some games that are basically unplayable in a modern context that really need a remake to reintroduce them to a new audience. I'm not sure if Dead Space was one of those. And I know The Last of Us isn't one of those, but Last of Us is a big enough IP that it'll sell well regardless. Also a traversal stutter. Yeah, you gotta love it. PS5 generation, I think, will just be remembered as Stutterfest. I think that's gonna be the how it's gonna be remembered forever. I'm very happy I paid full price for Expedition 33, says Mud, but what a name, by the way. Yeah, well, and whenever there's a game that I really like that I think is important or deserves extra credit, like I will intentionally go and pay full price. I'm like, I want to support you, so here is my money. Expedition 33, happily bought another copy for Nikki to play, and I mean, it's so good that you want to support it because it's just fantastic. It's fantastic. Okay, let's touch on, we could go into that. Let's see. Interesting. Ken Levine, the guy behind Judas and BioShock Infinite, he went on and did a podcast appearance. So he's still alive. That's good. Because he's pretty much disappeared for the last little bit. I haven't looked at any of this, though. System Shock 2. Incorporation of themes, present player, player interaction, agency, narrative, game establishes relationship with the player. Shocky games are about human nature, genius and novice in game design. Making the types of games he'd play. System Shock 2. So it seems like it's mainly an interview about System Shock 2. I haven't gone through this to see how pertinent it is, but we might return to this in like a stream or two and see if there's anything interesting in here about Judas. Because there's some articles that are clipping it and being like, Judas is old school and has no monetization or live service. And you're like, yeah, I would hope so, but I don't know how much about Judas is in there. Because again, I just insist, I'm really excited for Judas. I want to know more about it. But that marketing has been so bizarre. It's been so weird because Judas was like shown off. They did a bunch of marketing a year ago where they had Jeff Keighley there for some reason. And this is the same guy that just did the Mafia preview we looked at. And so they sat and they talked about it. I'm sorry, no shade at Jeff. I just find it funny how randomly you'll watch something in the games industry and then Jeff is just sitting in the background. You're like, oh, Jeff's here. he just kind of shows up, he just shows up. But yeah, they did this push of marketing, and then they also had the FPS podcast guys on, and they talked about it. And it's relatively interesting. They talked about the narrative Lego brick idea and all that stuff, but then they just disappeared. And this was over a year ago. This was March of 2024, and they've said nothing since then, which just feels weird, feels strange. Can you delay a game secretly, or is the game in development hell? No, you can delay whatever you want. There's internal delays all the time with games. Nobody's entitled to it, so they can absolutely do whatever they want to do. But I think with this, it's particularly just interesting because you don't tend to do a big marketing push unless you're ready to start ramping it up. Like, it's not that common to do a marketing thing where you bring in a lot of people, you let them play the game, they make videos, they promote your game, and then you just say nothing for a year or two. Like, that's just weird. It's just strange. So, does anyone agree with Skillup's Death Stranding 2 review? I've not seen it, so I don't know if I do or not. I don't know. Hope this is good. I hope it's good too, man. I hope it's good too. Because Ken Levine knows what he's doing. I love BioShock Infinite. I thought it was fantastic. So good. but he's been gone for like over a decade now. And it's just like, bro, we need games. We need the thing. But to their credit, 2K just lets him spend as much time as he needs. If he says, I need another year, I need 2 more years, whatever, they seemingly will give it to him. And that seems to be what's going on now, is that they just hit a point where he's like, I need more time, and they gave him more time. Here's a question for you, though. What comes out first? And I want to hear you vote in chat, because we can go back and reference this when we find out. What comes out first? The next BioShock or Judas? Which comes out first at this point? Judas or BioShock? Put it in chat. Because at this point, I really don't know. Like, at this point, it very well could be Judas, because they've at least shown that off. They still haven't announced BioShock, but they might drop BioShock kind of with like out of nowhere, where it's like, hey, it's out next month or in 3 months. They show it at Summer Games Fest or whatever and drop it pretty quickly after that. Judas, because we've seen it. You're doubting the power of nonstop delays on Ken Levine games, because he's quite good at delaying games. Dare I say it's a passion. Yeah. Will Kojima ban Skill Up from any future events now? I don't know. He doesn't have a candle for Kojima, so probably he's still good. I don't know. But yeah, there's a chance. There's a chance. Yeah, I don't. BioShock gets shadow dropped. Well, BioShock is apparently fairly far in development. Like, they're making good progress on it. And one of the things I didn't realize that Jor actually pointed out to me was that the writer, or one of the writers, let me see, was this it? Yeah, one of the lead writers on AC Odyssey. She is somebody named Melissa Macabry. I don't know. And was responsible for a lot of the writing in AC Odyssey, specifically when it came to like the branching narratives and keeping the RPG elements interesting. And it's one of the things I think AC Odyssey did quite well, was providing and building out this like fantasy RPG. As an AC game, I don't think Odyssey's that good. As like a fantasy RPG, it's pretty crazy. There's still quests that I think about all the time, like the whole Supidio quest line, which if you haven't seen that one, I won't spoil it for you. It's crazy. The Supidio quest line is freaking hilarious. There's a ton of them. Helping that old lady find a bunch of flowers. Like, instead of just a random fetch quest, I need to make a potion. It ends up being because she's got like an old dude who's her boyfriend, and she wants to like basically make him Viagra, and so you go collect herbs and stuff to craft it. All sorts of fun little tidbits and stories tied into every side quest, everything they do. And so this writer, Melissa Macabry, left Ubisoft after AC Odyssey. And I feel like you can feel it because AC Shadows, like none of that stuff we just described is in AC Shadows at all. It's kind of painful. But Mel moved and started working at, where is it? Cloud Chamber. And if you don't know Cloud Chamber, this is the team. Let me just pull up the website. Cloud Chamber Games. Cloud Chamber. No, that's an actual Cloud Chamber. Cloud Chamber Studios. That's what it is. Studios, not games. Ooh, what's that? Yeah. They're working on the next BioShock game. Interesting, right? I wonder. And they've gotten a lot of good talent, to be very, very clear. A lot of people from Montreal. So they have they have 2 locations in Novato, which is the same place where like Hangar 13 is based for Mafia. They're based in Novata. I don't know how to pronounce it, but they're based there. And then they also have another studio in Montreal. So they have a lot of like Ubisoft people that moved over. And then they have a lot of like these 2K developers over there. It's kind of crazy. So I'm excited. I need more BioShock in my life, tell you what. But they're still hiring like crazy. Writers, materials artist, art director, technical animator, designer. Oh, wait, no, you pull it up and then it's gone. Game's canceled. Confirmed. No. But it's happening. It's happening. So who knows? Maybe we see Judas first. Maybe we see that first. I don't know. But either way, I can't wait. Parent company is still EA, right? I think it's 2K. 2K is who you're thinking of. Yeah, EA never owned BioShock. BioShock was a 2K company. I should apply. There are YouTubers and like industry, like influencer types who have gone to work at games like studios. But there's never like a clear cutoff. Like what you have to do is at some point, like let's say if I ever wanted to like get out of the public eye or whatever, and I just wanted to go work in games or something, I would have to leave like all of my YouTube stuff behind, I feel, and just fully transition into that, you know, big boy job. BBJ. I think you'd have to completely cut off your previous life, because what inevitably happens is these like YouTubers or streamers, they go work the big boy job and they still make videos, they still stream, and they get into trouble, and then that makes the company look bad, or they say something and then it's twisted because they work there. So it's like, oh, well, you work for this company and you said this, which means that the game is actually like this, and it's just not healthy. It doesn't work. So I feel like if I ever were to do that, I'd have to completely walk away. You know, don't call it that, Luke. Stop me. You can't. I'm going to get a BBJ. And there's nothing you can do about it. Deal with it. But to be clear, I'm never going, I maybe not never, but I have no plans to do that. I have no plans to leave because I love this and I am passionate about it. And I get to work from home, so I get to see my kids every morning, afternoon, evening. We get to do everything. It's awesome. It's great. So, yeah. Clip that. Okay, speaking of clips, let's look at a clip from Selwyn talking about one of our beloved games. This video has been recommended to me a bajillion times by a lot of you asking me to check it out and offer my thoughts on it. So I am down. You ready? Where to get my mouse pad from? This is just the massive, I think it's Corsair. It's like XXL size mouse pad. Real quick, shout out. Would any of you guys be interested if I did like a very limited run of custom mouse pads? We were going to do it as a merch drop and just do a really premium mouse pad that's like stupid thick and cushiony and nice. But I have to pay for all of them up front. So I have to spend like, I don't know how much it's going to be exactly, but like say we order 500 of them. Like I have to spend thousands of these things to get a factory in China to make it and then ship them to my garage. And then I'd have to ship them out by hand. And I could do things like if you wanted me to sign something, I don't know, a picture of Fergus, I could do that. Like we could do fun things to make it custom or unique, but yeah, it's just, you know, it's an investment, and I don't want to spend thousands on mouse pads and
Jack
just have them
donated
sitting in my
$10
garage,
through
you know?
Super Chat. Only if they have Todd Howard and Troy Baker on them.
I think I'd get in trouble if I did that. But that would be really funny. That would be really, really funny. Can't just Vista print. How dare you, Dante? Yeah, I think we do like something very, very unique and custom that is also very nice. And you know, if enough of you guys are interested in it, we could maybe even turn a profit on it. But it's just, you know, as with all merch drops that are custom, I have to put the money up for it up front. So I kind of need to know if there's interest before I do it. Because yes, I can afford to throw a couple grand at something, even if it doesn't like work out. The problem is I don't want to just, I don't want to be wasteful and end up with like 200 mouse pads in my garage that never get used, you know? Which only ship in the States. No, I think we could do all international stuff. There might be like a higher shipping charge depending on where. Like if you live in Antarctica, like it's not going to be a $5 flat shipping fee. It might be a little more, but still. Poll. Okay, that's a good idea. I can do a poll. You could work on pre-orders possibly if you set it up yourself. Yeah, I've heard of some people doing that where they'll like open the orders, then they do the run, they shut off the orders, and then they produce them for the orders they received. I forget what they call it. There's an actual term for that, but I don't know. Start a poll. Oh, nope. It's just a poll with nothing. Okay, poll. Start a poll. Would you buy a stupid luxury
Gerald
mouse
donated $10
pad?
through Super Chat.
It's more of a desk mat.
Maybe BBJ themed desk pads?
BBJ desk mats. Yeah, that could be good. But a lot of people buy that. Super luxury desk mat. Let's see. Okay, the poll's up. Some people are like, no, I have a piece of paper. I don't need something stupid luxurious. They're coming in. Seems like a lot of people are suspicious. A lot of people don't want it. Still though, 43%. 43% is nothing to balk at. BBJ desk mats. Can't forget customs. Yeah, well, that's where things start to get really, tricky. But, yes, at 40 or 41. Okay. Like, it's okay if the answer is no. It's okay. My feelings will not be hurt. I'd rather you tell me no now than when I've ordered 1,000 desk mats and have them sitting in my garage. I don't want to end up as one of those guys that's like, every video, every stream, just being like, please, buy my coffee. Like, no, nobody wants that. Yeah, 40%. Yeah, 40%. You are right. 40% as a conversion rate is not bad. That's not bad. It really is not bad. It's really not bad. That's funny. Here it is. Okay. Yeah, it's still decent numbers. Can't replace my Gamers Nexus one. Dude, I have those Gamers Nexus coasters. They did those that coaster run, the silicon coasters. Those are nice. Legitimately very nice. I have them over there though. They're great. I'd buy a cool t-shirt though. Good to know, my friend. Good to know. Yeah. Just sell koozies instead. Fergus t-shirts. We could just do a massive Fergus t-shirt. That could be funny. You could do a coffee run, Luke, and just brand it as BBJ coffee. Savor every drop. That could be good. There's a lot we could do with that. Okay, let's do this. Yeah, gulp down these amazing prices. Guzzle this sale until it's all gone. Yeah, I think this could work. Put on your goggles. It's coffee time. Okay, we're moving on. Anyway, news segment. Okay. Let's do this. Video from Selwyn that a bunch of you guys have recommended called They Destroyed a Beloved Developer with a $200 million Flop. I wonder what this could be about. I wonder. I can see why you guys wanted me to look at this video because I probably, like no joke, have talked about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League more than probably any other YouTuber, like, period. Like, we talked about that game a lot, and it's partially because it was like such a dumpster fire that there was always something to talk about, but it's also because of what it represented. Like, it really represented one of those things that has corrupted this generation of games, where it's an established developer we all know and love, and they have managed to corrupt them and destroy their reputation, all credibility, lost a lot of the talent, burned hundreds of millions of dollars, all at the altar of crappy live service nobody wanted. And so it was one of those things that, like, a lot of people were rooting for it to fail because it frankly deserved to fail, but it still is kind of sad now to look at, you know, the gravestone and be like, what a waste. What a waste. But anyway, let's see what Selwyn says. Whoops, sorry, muted. I'm a professional. I do this for a living.
There was a time when superhero games were not a big deal, with some being bad. Then Rocksteady came and changed everything. Comments like this weren't just handed to Rocksteady Studios. They were earned with vision, passion, and 3 games that not only set the standard, but influenced action games for more than a decade.
Dude, I cannot express enough how much I love the Arkham games. And that's what makes it all the more amazing that they just crapped the bed so bad with Suicide Squad. Like, again, there's not really a comparable example to go from like a trilogy of phenomenally well-received, greatly beloved games to just a steaming pile of garbage that loses every penny that was put into it. Like, it really is remarkable.
The Batman Arkham trilogy, but with just one title, they burned a decade of goodwill to the ground. From untouchable,
you're clearly the licensed game kings at this point. Is that a trend you want to keep going?
To causing the loss of $200 million. This is the story of how Rocksteady went from the top of the industry to releasing one of the biggest disasters in modern gaming history.
You do realize the entire studio is decorated with Batman stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, my entire house is decorated with Batman stuff as well.
You still like Batman after all this time?
Oh yeah, definitely, massively. I don't know, it's just, he's such a great character that, you know, I still love him. I still get a buzz out of
pop, have Harley kill him. That's what he did. That's what he did, and he didn't feel bad about it either. He actually left. There we go. He left. Founded a different studio. Sefton Hill, Jamie Walker, both of them gone. Into the wind, into the foggy streets of London, in it. They got a bottle of water and left. Straight rubbish is what that is. I think, you know, one important piece of this that I'm interested to see if someone brings up is that, you know, we all kind of have rose-tinted glasses a little bit, but Rocksteady was always like kind of greedy. Like, they were always sort of problematic, but they made such good games that you would hand wave it away. Like, I still remember being, I don't even know, 13, 14 years old, however old I was, when Arkham City came out. And that game was the talk of the town. Like, it was going to be amazing, and it was reviewing really well. Everybody was eating that up and loving it. And then I realized I wanted to buy a copy of the game. And I, you know, I'm just a kid, so I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at buying a used copy at GameStop. And the problem was, GameStop was the place to buy from, because if you bought it from a different retailer, it did not include the DLC that had all the Catwoman missions. You remember those Catwoman missions? There's like a solid, I don't know, like 90 minutes, 2 hours of side quests and missions with Catwoman, where specifically after a sequence with Batman, he gets like thrown out the window in the wheelchair or whatever. And then it cuts to Wonder Woman into Catwoman. And there's a whole like sequence with Catwoman that flawlessly and seamlessly integrates into the main story of the game. And that was an optional thing that they sold separately unless you bought it through GameStop. And then it came included with your copy. But people forget that. People forget that it was like a separate thing entirely. Imagine if they did that today with a single player game and they just are like, yeah, like, you know, all these quests, like, yeah, we're just cutting them all out. Like Ubisoft does that. They do it with smaller like quest lines. I still remember the one they did for AC Origins where it was like the secrets of the pyramids or whatever was the exclusive pre-order quest line. If you pre-ordered the game, you got this quest line nobody else got unless you paid $5 for it. And it literally was like all of 15 minutes long. It was like hilariously short, and like it literally was, you walk through a corridor, you talk to a dude, you walk over here, you like collect this thing, and then the quest is over. Like it was really stupid. It was not substantive. But with Catwoman, there was like an entire separate thing that was ridiculous. Like it really was. They really did that. Yeah, dude. Catwoman DLC Arkham City. Okay. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Is this it? Catwoman Story Pack was an addition for Arkham City, woven throughout the events of Arkham City. The pack follows the perspective of Catwoman as she attempts to raid Hugo Strange's vault and leave Arkham City. So you can see there's part 1, 2, 3, 4. Downloading this pack allows player to free roam as Catwoman and collect special Riddler trophies tailored specifically for her. So none of those were available if you didn't buy this DLC or buy it through the partnered retailer. Then, of course, in Arkham Knight, they just had her in the game. But yeah, people forget that they always did kind of slimy stuff. Rocksteady was never like the super pro consumer publisher, or rather developer. They always did kind of slimy stuff, but the games were so good they could get away with it. But, you know, with Suicide Squad, the problem was the game was just... was not that good. So you can't get away with it.
Seeing him and playing the games, and as a character.
Didn't Star Wars Outlaws do something like that with Jabba the Hutt? Sort of. So they had an exclusive thing in Star Wars Outlaws that was exclusive if you pre-ordered the game or whatever. But Jabba the Hutt was in the game. It was a specific mission you would do for Jabba. So it's like a quest that he would give you for his tribe. Personally, I think that one was really poorly communicated on the part of Ubisoft, because the way they described it made it sound like Jabba the Hutt was locked behind a paywall, but that's not what it was. He's in a game and his group, the Hutts, are in the game. It's just there was a quest line, a specific little mini quest line that was locked behind a pre-order wall. Yeah. I think that Ubisoft shot themselves in the foot with that one because they phrased it really poorly, and so people blew up, and then the misconception started that they locked Jabba behind the paywall, but they didn't. It's a whole thing. But that's a topic for another video.
Love him. I still get a buzz out of seeing him and playing the games, and as a character, I still get a real buzz out of seeing what other people do with the franchise and films, and you know, I'm the first person in the queue to see that stuff. So.
Rocksteady Studios began as a small London-based team in 2004, founded by Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker. Their debut title, Urban Chaos: Riot Response, was a riot control FPS that flew under the radar for many, quietly earning a cult following years later. But in December 2006, everything changed. Eidos Interactive, publisher of Urban Chaos, had just secured the rights from Warner Bros. And DC Comics to make a Batman game. At the time, Batman-based video games had a reputation, and it wasn't great. Some were okay, most were forgettable. But Rocksteady, they had a vision.
You're in this kind of dark universe where you're not entirely sure of anyone's motives.
From the very first cinematic, when I saw the picture, it became really clear just how dark this was going to be.
And what came next was none other than Batman Arkham Asylum.
So good.
It's over, Joker.
Over? Why, my dear delusional Dark Knight, it hasn't even begun.
Released in 2009, Arkham Asylum.
So good. And also Mark Hamill deserves a lot of credit for that too, because his performance was so killer too, dude.
Baron Creos donated $9.99 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
I understand why they did that to incentivize pre-order numbers. Nowadays, I think they should give $10 discount if you pre-order, so they can engage the interest and, therefore, potential profit.
I think that the tide is changing on it. It used to be more acceptable than it is now. So, for example, like with AC Shadows, when they started getting worried about pre-orders and stuff there, they pivoted, they stripped all that stuff out. They did still do the expansion. They included that for free. If you... Was it the pre-order or was it the delay? I don't remember exactly how they broke it down, but they cut out a lot of that stuff. They got rid of the pre-order bonuses the same way that they were going to do it beforehand. And, it's just because they realized we're not going to get away with it. We can't get away with it with this game. And so, all these companies, they'll be greedy until they can't get away with it anymore. And in the case of, I think AC Shadows, Star Wars Outlaws, Ubisoft specifically couldn't get away with it anymore. But, Rocksteady is an example of a studio that was able to get away with it for a long time because their games were just that good.
Dropped right as Batman's popularity was peaking, thanks to Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. It was equally dark, gritty, and mature.
What was good for us is that obviously they have a sort of similar take, the sort of kind of mature, sort of quite a dark take on Batman. It's very sort of similar to the style that we've gone for.
But above all, it made you feel like Batman. The combat was simple, yet cinematic, brutal, yet rhythmic. The writing, penned by Paul Dini, the legends behind Batman the Animated Series. The voice cast, Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, Arlene Sorkin. Real Batman fans knew this was the dream team. The world was carefully woven, Metrovania-inspired, dripping with atmosphere. Even years later, Arkham Asylum holds up. It's tight, immersive, and respects the source material without being shackled by it. If you somehow never played it, do yourself a favor. Turn off the lights, crank up the volume, and become the damn Batman.
It still does hold up very, very well. I also think graphically it holds up too. This is an Unreal Engine 3 game, I believe it is. And it looks it. It looks very, very good. It's aged quite well. Arkham City's also aged pretty well as well. It's just a really well put together game that knows exactly what it's trying to be, and it nails it.
Passion and authentic feel of Arkham Asylum made it a critical and commercial smash, selling over 2 million copies in its first year, and today is nearing 10 million. But that kind of success gets noticed. In 2010, Warner Bros. Acquired the majority in Rocksteady. They now effectively owned the studio and the Batman IP. On paper, it looked like a match made in heaven. So what could go wrong?
So, you know my name. Good. Because I know everything about you. Your darkest secret. Your ultimate weakness. I know you are Bruce Wayne.
2 years later, Rocksteady delivered Batman Arkham City, taking...
Can we take a minute to appreciate Arkham City was put together in 2 years? 2 years. Think about that. They put out Arkham Asylum, which was baller. Game of the year. And they take 2 years and put out Arkham City. Now, I've gone back and I've replayed Arkham City numerous times. It is smaller than you think. Like, I thought back to it, years later after the fact, and I was like, I remember just the city being massive and super expansive. It's actually quite small. It's like a solid 6 or 7 city blocks is what it actually feels like. It's a very small package, but it's just really well executed. But I think that helped it. Part of the problem with games of the late 2010s going into like nowadays is that the scope has just gotten so out of control. Like every game has to be this Elden Ring, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild looking thing that's just stupid huge, and very, very few studios can pull off a game of that scale well. They just bite off way more than they can chew. And that's why I think it's good that like some studios are taking a step back in terms of scale. You know, they're going and looking at something like Mafia the Old Country and trying to go more linear, much more tight, instead of trying to make a Mafia 3 again. I think that's a better way to do it.
Taking the DNA of Asylum and unleashing it in an open world. It was bigger and improved. It sold over 12 million copies. Critics called it a masterpiece. Fans called it the greatest superhero game of all time. But while Rocksteady was rising, Warner Bros. Was planting red flags. In 2011, the industry was at war with used games, and WB's answer: lock a small part of Arkham City, a playable Catwoman section behind an $8 VIP pass, unless you bought the game new. It felt anti-consumer, cheap, almost petty.
I don't think it felt that way. I think it was that. It was toxic as hell, dude. It was really stupid. But they did it because back in the day, you know, it was also another opportunity for added revenue, obviously. But he's right. They wanted to try and lock down used copies. You remember the Xbox One era? The whole thing was the Xbox One was not going to allow you to buy used copies. They were going to be locked to your ID, your hardware ID, so you couldn't trade games, couldn't resell them, nothing like that. And then PlayStation had that iconic video of I'm gonna pull it up because it's like 7 seconds long. How to sell or trade, I think it is. No, share games on PS4.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
Thanks.
PlayStation.
That was the whole ad, and it went like giga viral. It broke the internet because it was so good, and it showed how stupid Xbox was at the time for taking such an anti-consumer approach, you know, with their stuff, being like, no, you can't do that, can't do that. But it's because a lot of these big companies were worried that they were losing out on copies of sales, because to be fair, they were. I, as like whatever junior high school student or whatever at the time, I didn't have the money to throw at brand new $60 games. Like, I just didn't have that kind of money. So I would go to GameStop and you'd buy a used copy for $12 or $15. And it's true, the original publisher wouldn't get a single dime of that because it's a used copy. They already sold that thing, so now it's gone. It's like, you know, you buy a used car, Ford or whoever is not getting a cut of you buying the used car. They already got their money when they sold it new. They don't get a second like double dip of it. With video games though, they don't like that. The publishers don't like that because it's not like a product, you know. They're providing a service. And so they want a piece of the pie every single time it sells and trades hands, which is why now also a lot of games are going the route of live service. They have DRM. It's why all of these studios and publishers love the idea of the all digital future for games, because, you know, if you only buy games digitally, not only can they revoke licenses and access when they see fit or don't want to support it anymore because it's too expensive, but they also can make it so secondhand copies just basically aren't a thing. There's no secondhand copy of a Steam game, you know? You can't sell your games off of your Steam library because you're done with them. Imagine if you could do that, dude. My library would be so much smaller and I would have so much more money because I have a lot of games I've played. I don't need them anymore, but I bought them digitally, so they're stuck in here forever. Steam key sites, I don't think you can sell your key, though, after you've played the game. Can you? Is that a thing? I don't think you can. Like, you can buy a key and then sell it, but I don't think you can, like, extract your key from a game you've already played. But anyway, maybe you can, and I just don't know about it. NFTs, maybe that's the answer. You can't resell keys? Okay, yeah. That's what I thought. I was like, I missed a huge memo if you can do that. I was like, I guess I've been out of the game too long, man. I missed that. But yeah, it helps the publisher that you can't resell your digital copies. It's very much, you know, intentionally done that way. Krieg Zeus, thank you for the 2. BBJ. Indeed, my friend.
That's most definitely what's up.
Yes. Also.
Shout out to the chess club.
Let's go.
And by 2013, another warning sign appeared. Batman Arkham Origins launched, but this one wasn't made by Rocksteady. It was developed by WB Games Montreal. While still a good game, Origins felt rushed and borrowing heavily from Arkham City's map. It was a prequel but felt like a glorified DLC. Maybe these were all signs that Warner Bros. Didn't just want to make great games. They wanted to squeeze them for revenue for as much as possible.
No, say it isn't so. Yeah, I mean, it was a spin-off project. Part of it was that, they wanted just extra cash, but in reality, a lot of it was that they didn't want to get caught in what I call now the Bethesda bubble. It's a working title. Basically, they just didn't want to get in this situation where they have an IP like, say, a Fallout that they don't touch for 20 years. Fair. They didn't want to just sit on an IP that people love and will spend money on and just not do anything with it for decades. Because that's what a lot of companies have done, and it wastes a lot of time and money, and it kind of wastes the IP as well, unfortunately, which is a problem we've run into with a lot of different companies. But for Batman Arkham Origins specifically, it was just that they went to Rocksteady, and the reporting was that Rocksteady said in 2011, after after Arkham City, they said, we want to work on something crazy, ambitious, and just it's going to blow people's minds, but we need the next generation of consoles. We need to maybe take 3.5, 4 years on this thing, which again, for them was a lot of time. They had just pumped out Arkham City in 2 years, and they're saying we need 4 or 5. So Warner Brothers was like, you're Rocksteady, you know what you're doing. We're not going to doubt you. Sounds good, but we're going to give you that time, but we're going to also share the IP and some of your tools with another team, and they're going to pump out a game in the interim so that there's not as big of a gap. And, a lot of people still love Arkham Origins. I think it's a good Christmas game. It's a good game to play during the holidays when it's snowy outside. But I don't think that this was necessarily a totally evil, terrible, scummy thing to do. The game was still pretty solid. I don't think it's as good as the core trilogy of games, but I think it was still worth having, and I'm glad we have it today. In the same way that if we were trying to lock it down to the original developers, we never would have gotten Fallout New Vegas, for example. Fallout New Vegas was created for this exact same reason, because ZeniMax was like, we're not going to sit on Fallout for 7 years, because BGS was like, hey, we did Fallout 3 in 2008. We're not going to get to Fallout 4 until 2015. And ZeniMax was like, are you crazy? That's 7 years. What a waste. And, in the modern era, now, we probably don't get Fallout 5 until 2034. 19 years after Fallout 4. There will be people who were toddlers when Fallout 4 came out that will be legally able to drink when Fallout 5 comes out. That's how long it's been between those two games. Okay? Just let that settle in. We're old.
But despite
2034, yeah. Based on their current dev cycles and dev times, yeah.
It's the noise. Rocksteady wasn't slowing down. By 2015, they returned with Batman Arkham Knight, a technical marvel. It pushed the PS4 and Xbox One to their limits. The Batmobile, the rain-slick streets of Gotham, a downright gorgeous world, even to today's standards. But the PC launch, a catastrophe.
Yeah.
This is one of the worst PC ports I've ever seen. It's locked to 30 FPS and still runs like crap. It has constant stuttering and the most bare-bones options menu I have ever seen in a modern title. It was so broken that WB pulled it from digital shelves.
Another thing people forget was how terrible the PC port was for Arkham Knight. Now, in Rocksteady's defense, they did not do it. It was a separate team. I think it was Iron Galaxy. I think it was. It was atrocious. But they basically hired this other team to do it, and they did a bad job. And, they suffered a lot. You could still say it falls on them because they're in charge of the game. Fair. It was Iron Galaxy? Okay, I thought so. Iron Galaxy, funnily enough, you know what game package they just put out? They just put out another one. they just put out the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 collection. That's Iron Galaxy as well. So, small world, right?
One of the few AAA games in history to be removed from Steam post-release. Refunds were offered, patches came, and eventually it rebounded to very positive and even overwhelmingly positive on Steam. That's how strong the Rocksteady and Arkham brand was. But perhaps this was another sign. Maybe it was tight deadlines, maybe bad partnerships, maybe early signs of a studio pushed too far. Whatever it was, despite the misstep, Arkham Knight marked the end of a legendary trilogy, and it left Rocksteady on top of the industry. Under Hill, Walker, and team, they weren't just the guys who made Batman games. They were the guys you could trust to make anything great.
I see the setup. Yeah, this is the end of Act 1 before we get into Act 2, which is everything going terribly. As you'll see, as I imagine he's going to now go through what happened after Arkham Knight, Rocksteady started to act like a studio without a rudder. Like it was a ship without a rudder. You know, they didn't have a clear direction. They didn't really know what they were doing. And part of that could be left up to the David Haddad, who was the head of Warner Brothers Games Publishing. And the thing you need to understand about Haddad, I'm interested to see if he brings him up. Haddad. Here. This guy. Oh yeah. So David Haddad, he took over, he was in charge for about 12 years. Okay. He took over, I believe it was right. Let's see. When did he officially take over? 12 years. Let's see. So that was 2024. 2020. Okay. So he took over shortly before Batman Arkham Knight and saw that through. But one of the things that came out after the fact in Jason Schreier's reporting was that Haddad was like right in the gravy train day in, day out. So he had this amazing cushy job as an executive at Warner Brothers, made millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. But he basically did not want to take any risks or rock the boat at all. So he would just not really give approvals. It was known that he and his team were really hard to get a hold of. So if teams needed approvals or needed to get this project greenlit to hire more people or whatever it is, they couldn't get that done because he just refused to basically do anything because he's like, I don't want to screw it up. So he just wouldn't do anything. And it led to just a total stagnation for years and years and years of the Warner Brothers portfolio. It's why it's kind of funny that they ended up with the massive hit in the form of Hogwarts Legacy, because that was apparently something that he like gave the thumbs up on and then just kind of ignored for years and years. And then it ended up being the biggest success ever. So the thing he didn't mess with ended up being very successful. But David Haddad took over right around this time. And it's right about the time when Rocksteady, one of their most valuable assets, starts having massive problems and they can't figure out what the hell they want to do. But the other piece of this is that the two studio founders, Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, they also started to act like they didn't know what they wanted to do. Maybe it was that they just, like, they had already kind of peaked. And so now they were just creatively bored and they didn't know what to do. And so they just kept trying new things that just weren't working. And who knows? Who knows? But we're about to find out.
At least players thought. As we have learned with studios like BioWare, even legends fall.
This is the end of the trilogy for us, but we've not thought too much about what's next. But I don't think we necessarily wouldn't do original IP at it either. You know, like I don't think there's a conscious decision to do that. But I think whatever it is, it needs to be have that kind of richness, that, you know, that level of detail, that lore that, you know, that Batman has. So good luck finding that, I guess.
After Arkham Knight, Rocksteady went quiet. The trilogy was over, the fans were hungry, and speculation ran wild. A Nightwing solo game, Catwoman, maybe even Superman or Wonder Woman. The timing couldn't be better. DC was trying to build its own cinematic universe to rival Marvel's. This was the moment to expand the Arkhamverse and build something bigger. But nothing happened, if not for some teases. Be patient, fans. I know we are not talking right now, but when we do, people are going to lose their minds. So
he wasn't wrong. People are gonna be, they're gonna have a lot to say. Yes, we sure did.
While Rocksteady remained silent, WB was pushing hard into gaming. Injustice, Shadow of Mordor, Mortal Kombat, even Batman Arkham VR for whatever reason. But more than their games, it was WB business practices that raised eyebrows, and not in a good way. In 2014, Warner Bros. Was caught quietly and secretly paying influencers, including PewDiePie, thousands of dollars to promote Shadow of Mordor positively, without disclosing it. And although it was quite well received, not needing that promotion at all, it was deceptive, it was unethical, and eventually it led to a formal settlement with the FTC.
And now this is why, like, I think there was a game a handful of years ago. Was it Starfield or something? I don't know. There was a game where a bunch of people were accusing people who liked it of being paid off, or people. I don't think it was Starfield. It was. Oh, maybe it was Prince of Persia Lost Crown or something. But there were allegations that, like, oh, if a reviewer or a YouTuber likes this game, they must be getting paid off. And it's like, bro, this is not 2013, 2014 anymore. Yes, that happened in 2014, and they paid millions upon millions of dollars in fines to the FCC for it. And now I'm telling you, as somebody who's had to, like, sign some of these disclosures and who has done sponsored content before, all of the companies I've ever worked with in this, like, era since I've started doing it are so freaking obsessed over following FTC guidelines. Sometimes it gets, like, even a little ridiculous, where they're like, oh, you said thanks to X company for sponsoring this video. We need you to say thank you, because the actual name of the company is XY Incorporated. So you need to say that exactly so that it's very clear who is sponsoring it. It's like, yeah, but, like, if we say thank you XY for sponsoring the video, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They are very, very obsessed with following the letter of the law exactly, because they don't want to get caught up in an FTC lawsuit or something because they screwed up and didn't disclose it fully or whatever. So is it possible there's some streamer out there that's doing a sponsored stream and not disclosing it? Yeah, it's possible. But the company, any company I've ever seen, they don't want to take that risk. Like I've had, there was that one, like, NFT company that was going around offering sponsorships, and they were like, well, no, we're not going to sponsor you to promote our NFTs. We're just going to give you a bunch of NFTs, and then, you know, we'd expect that you talk about it positively, but no, we're not sponsoring you. It's like, it sounds like you're sponsoring. And of course, very few people did that. A few of them did, and, you know, promoted the crap out of it. Or like the crypto rug pulls, they'll do that type of thing all the time. But there are lawsuits and things that you get into with that stuff. Like, there are slimy people out there for sure, but any sort of big established company that you probably have heard of, they're not messing around with it. They're not risking it, because, you know, paying you whatever, like, I don't know how much they'd pay PewDiePie for a sponsored video, maybe $100 grand, $200 grand, I don't know. But whatever they pay him, they're going to pay a lot more in fines to the FCC than they would have saved by not disclosing it. Like, it's just, it doesn't really happen anymore as far as I'm aware, but we'll see. TikTok is a different story though. There are dudes straight up on TikTok who will just lie. TikTok is the Wild West of scum and villainy. There are some great people on it. I know a lot of the TikTok dudes, great dudes, call them all friends. They're awesome. But yeah, on TikTok, there's also some of the worst people I know. They're on TikTok. It's a whole other thing.
They didn't stop there. In 2017, Warner Bros. And Monolith released Shadow of War, and despite being a single-player game experience, it was riddled with microtransactions and predatory loot boxes. The devs attempted to explain this brilliant new concept, but not to a great success.
Yeah, so the gold war chest and of course the gold loot chest fundamentally work in the same way, just larger and with some increasing sort of levels of rarity of what you can guarantee you're going to find in them. And they are the ones that you can purchase using the premium currency. So you can purchase gold.
This is pathetic, embarrassing, laughable.
Shout out Actman, spotted in the wild. Look at that.
Why is this RNG loot box unlock system any better than something that isn't random? This is the same shit we have seen in hundreds of games already.
I want to read the whole thing. Some of you are saying it won't be microtransactions. Well, just you wait, champ. I think we all know how this will turn out. And even if it's not microtransactions, why is this RNG loot box unlock system any better than something that isn't random? Same shit with 700 games already. Yeah, and it ended up being something paid. Like you could buy the premium currency to get the premium boxes, and it was all
shit we have seen in hundreds of games already. Monolith later admitted that this did affect gameplay. Loot boxes and the marketplace were subsequently removed with a letter that felt almost apologetic. And when people thought it couldn't get worse, Warner Bros. Did the unthinkable. They patented the Nemesis system, a dynamic AI mechanic that made Shadow of War stand out. A system where enemies remembered your actions, climbed ranks and created emergent rivalries. It was innovative, it was beloved, and now it was off-limits to everyone else. They were going full anti-consumer, anti-competitive, and unapologetically corporate. And while they doubled down on monetization and control, Rocksteady finally made their move. August 22nd, the date was set. The moment.
By the way, I've seen some people ask, Luke, can they release the, or can, now that Monolith is gone, can they open up the patent and other studios use it? No. The patent is held by Warner Brothers, like Interactive Entertainment or Warner Brothers Incorporated, whatever the parent company is. So even though Monolith is gone and shut down now, no, I mean, it's the patent still held. Like they can't do anything. And you know, some people, I remember when we talked about this initially, people were like, well, what would you have them do? Like not patent it? And it's like, yes. That is my preference. Don't patent it. Like, for example, or there are some things that can be done. I think what Tesla did was they patented everything that they did, and then they opened up the patents and basically said publicly, in a binding way, we're not going to sue companies that use our patents. So other electronic, like EV companies, can use the same patents and stuff and technologies that they developed. And they could do something similar, because I understand maybe the counter is, well, if they don't patent it, then somebody else is going to come in and patent it, and then they're going to not be able to make another Nemesis system game because they didn't do it. It's like, okay, well then they could patent it and then open the patent for everybody else to use. They can do that. They have the power. It's not a trademark. Like patents aren't trademarks. Patents are patents. So they could open it up. They could license it out for $1. Like they could do all sorts of things if they wanted to be, good for the industry. But instead they're choosing just to lock it down. Nobody can use it until after Fallout 5.
Fans had waited for the reveal of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
Oh, look, it's Superman. The mighty Superman has just rescued that pilot.
What a show-off. Beat it, Spandex! We're on a top-secret assassination mission here.
No.
Millions tuned in.
It's a good trailer. A really good trailer. Turns out the game was almost nothing like that, but still.
Like ratio strong. The comments overflowing with excitement. For a brief moment, it felt like the magic was back. 5 years had passed since Arkham Knight. Hype had been built up, and the premise, although disappointing for not being a Superman game, was still exciting. And best of all, Batman was back, voiced one final time by the late, great Kevin Conroy. For a fleeting moment, it felt right, but behind the scenes, things were very different.
I found a female crying in the bathroom because a man who, despite her telling him not to, was groping her repeatedly, sending her messages in the evening, and when he was drunk he would start to fabricate stories that he was in fact sleeping with her to other colleagues.
Between 2018 and 2020, Rocksteady faced internal turmoil. Like many major studios around this time, allegations began to surface involving misconduct towards female employees and other minorities. A letter alleged that concerns had been ignored for years. Rocksteady swiftly responded in 2020 with a public statement to The Guardian, claiming that we are more passionate than ever to continue to develop our inclusive culture, and we are determined to stand up for all of our staff. The controversy came and went, and just when things seemed to stabilize, the delays began.
Yeah, I mean, that's like one of the most like non-statements I've ever heard. It's like, we're passionate about something, and yeah, we want to stand up for people. It's like, okay, cool, but like, you gonna answer any of that? Okay. I forgot about that. Real Serious, thank you for the super chat. Couldn't they have used Nemesis System and Suicide Squad given it's Warner Brothers property? Yes, they could have. Imagine that game with a system where random enemies could get better against certain characters, so you had to counter them by using others. I mean, if you watch that critique I did of the Arkham franchise, it's still to this day, I think, is my top performing video of all time was that video. It's got like close to 4 million views or something on it, I think, on the big channel. And in that video, I mentioned speculating, about what they could be working on next, because this was, I don't remember when I posted it, like maybe 2018, 2019, something like that. I mentioned that I think it would be cool if they made a Suicide Squad game, and I basically outlined something similar to that. And we all know how that ended, but they could have used it. The thing is, the Nemesis system was being used by Monolith in the Wonder Woman game. I spoke to somebody who was doing support work on it, like a handful of months ago, 6 months ago, whatever it was. And I think I've mentioned this on stream before, but the person that was doing support work on the game basically was describing how getting the Nemesis system working in the new tool set, like within Unreal Engine, was just a nightmare, because the thing was built in their proprietary engine, and then it was just a dumpster fire trying to get it working again. It was not transitioning well, and they were like, we're gonna have to rebuild the entire Nemesis system from scratch, which is not easy. It's really not easy. So it was something they were using elsewhere within the company, and so they probably were like, we don't need to give Rocksteady the Nemesis system. We're using it elsewhere by the team that knows it, so we'll just leave it be, because it's not as simple as just copy and paste the code in. It's much more elaborate than that.
In 2022, Sefton Hill broke the news. We have made the difficult decision to delay Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League to spring 2023.
Dude, I kind of forgot about this. They initially announced it for 2022, and it was delayed, when all was said and done, by 2 years.
I know a delay is frustrating, but that time is going into making the best game we can. Delays can be a good thing. Sometimes more time means a better product. But then came 2023, and the first real gameplay reveal. And with it, those dreaded words: live service, always online, co-op.
Looter shooter as well. Yeah, this was such a colossal blunder on their part. Like, they showed it, I think graphically it looked fine, but it was so opposite of what everybody wanted the game to be that it just imploded. Like, all hype, all interest in the game, it was gone. It was just ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Incoming Ollie! Out of my way.
Guess Quinn ain't holding anything back for later.
The positive sentiment died faster than a Suicide Squad member without plot armor. Gravity looking very optional in this game.
Okay, that's a funny one. That's a good one. The one thing, again, I don't remember who initially said it, or if it was just, I think it was actually a comment on this gameplay video where somebody initially pointed out that we're just swinging around popping purple zits. And after I saw that, I was like, I can never unsee that. It really is like the gameplay loop is just going around popping purple zits. You can't unsee it once you see it. It's ridiculous.
There's absolutely no way this game was made by the same people who made Arkham Knight. I wouldn't be surprised if the Penguin starts speeding around, jumping whole buildings with a pink trail behind. Gone was the dark.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, that's basically what happened with a couple of the other boss fights. It tonally felt so off. It was way more arcadey, and, you know, there was debate over why this happened. That went back and forth. It basically seems like Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, they were perfectionists. They didn't know what they wanted the game to be, so they had all sorts of different versions of this game over the years that they were working on. Like at one point, the game had this whole like open world component driving this car around, and players would customize their cars and use that in combat. That got scrapped because it didn't make any sense when you could just swing places while you'd be using a car. So they scrapped that, but then the tank sections are still sort of in the game, even though they're used very sparingly. It's just across the board, it was super dysfunctional.
Gritty, story-driven single-player Arkham experience. In its place, a quirky looter-shooter, bullet sponge bosses with UI elements and effects, flying off anything and everything. So what exactly happened? Didn't Rocksteady get the memo that this style of games was doomed to fail? Anthem, Marvel's Avengers, Redfall, even Gotham Knights, all live service experiments, all massive flops, all made by studios known for narrative-driven single-player games. So why did Rocksteady follow the same path? You see, originally, Suicide Squad was in development at WB Games Montreal, but wasn't working out. After the financial success of the Suicide Squad film in 2016, and before live service failures became clear, WB wanted in. This was the age of Overwatch, Destiny, and Fortnite. Live service games were printing a lot of money, so the Montreal project was scrapped, and WB handed the reins to Rocksteady, while the Montreal team worked on Gotham Knights.
But specifically, what's important to remember is that Jason Schreier also pointed out that the reporting, at least as far as I recall it, suggested that Rocksteady are the ones that wanted to make the live service game. The easy thing that started and the narrative that started to develop around the time of Suicide Squad's initial reveal and everything was, look what Warner Brothers forced them to do. But that doesn't actually seem like that's what happened. It seems like Rocksteady basically said, give us Suicide Squad. We want to turn it into this live service game. We can do it. It was Rocksteady's idea. They pitched it. They wanted to do it, not Warner Brothers forcing them to. Now, it's possible it's the other way around and the reporting's off or the sources were off. It's possible. But as far as I'm aware, having covered this game a lot, the Jason Schreier report from, I think, was it the post-mortem he did after the fact, or was it the one he did like 6 months into the game's lifespan? But there was one where he said that the initial pitch came from Rocksteady. It wasn't like, you know, David Haddad called them and said, you're doing this now, suck it up, deal with it. I think it was in development hell at Montreal. They canned it, and then they just kind of picked up the torch.
According to a Bloomberg report, Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker were excited to tackle a new DC property, aiming for a 2020 release. But then, WB executives stepped in. They pitched a live service vision, calling it the future of gaming, and Rocksteady's own internal executives, names unknown, agreed, becoming the online multiplayer game with live service content we now know.
Yeah,
Online.
so this could be like the way that it's balanced, where like Warner Brothers executives are saying, hey, we think the future is games as a service such as Destiny, League of Legends, which generated sales long after the initial release, continuing to re-engaging players with endless updates, raking in fresh profits year after year. Armed with battery presentations, Warner Brothers executives traveled to London, made the case that growing category was the industry's future. So they tell them, we think you should work on something live service. And then it was a field in which Rocksteady had no prior experience. The Batman Arkham games were all single player. Even so, Rocksteady executives, and I believe it was Jason Schreier was pointing out that it was Sefton and Jimmy Walker themselves, the founders and people in charge of the studio. They decided that in keeping with their parent company's newfound enthusiasm, Suicide Squad would become an online multiplayer game. So, I mean, maybe it's Warner Brothers forcing them. I feel like if they wanted to just say no, they could have offered some resistance. I don't know. We don't know what we don't know. I'm guessing, and I'm just saying this as from what I've heard, the rumblings. Typically, there are bonuses associated with this stuff. So if the founders who own the studio can achieve a live service game that's very profitable, they will get a big fat payday. It's like, hey, if your game breaks $100 million in revenue for Q4, you get a 10% bonus of whatever that surplus is. Or if you can hit $1 billion in revenue, you get a $80 million payout, whatever it is, like some ridiculous bonus if you can achieve that. And, once you're an industry darling, you've made Game of the Year contenders and winners, and you're approaching like 50 years old, you're starting to think about retirement a lot more. That I could see that becoming tempting. Okay, well, we made a Game of the Year, Game of the Generation, Batman game. What if we just take that and apply those skills and our talent to make a live service version and make $1 billion there? Makes sense. So maybe it's a little bit of strong arming from Warner Brothers mixed with some delusion from Rocksteady executives mixed together into a sweet, delicious soup of nonsense.
Executives, names unknown, agreed, becoming the online multiplayer game with live service content we now know. As the failures of similar games rolled in over the next few years, came the ultimate final blow.
Gotham Knights was also weird because that was made by the same guys that did Arkham Origins. And it was single player and kind of mediocre, but it also, I don't have any clear evidence of this. I don't know if it's been reported or not, but it really felt like it was supposed to be a multiplayer game that was scrapped and turned into a single player game at one point. The UI was like straight out of a mobile game, filled with all of these like 15 different currencies that were used to craft armor sets and stuff. Like it really felt like it was going to be a live service or even mobile game at one point, and then it turned into what it did, and it just wasn't very good as a result. Gotham Knights is still a really, really weird game, even to this day. It's really strange.
Sefton Hill and Jimmy Walker left the studio. Just months after the first delay, they announced their departure to start a new studio, 100 Star Games, leaving Rocksteady on fire. By April 2023, yet another delay, now pushing the game to February 2024, gamers attempted to provide feedback, like removing its looter-shooter RPG mechanics, the live service elements, and to make each character more unique, as opposed to just gun-wielding maniacs.
It also, I'm sorry, it's like patently ridiculous to have King Shark in your game and then have him be a character that mainly uses a minigun. Like, you have all these characters. Harley Quinn, known for her, like, hammer. No, we're going to have her use a shotgun. Oh, we've got Captain Boomerang. Does he use a boomerang? Well, mainly guns, but, there were just so many things. It's like you got the layup to do some really cool, like, melee combat stuff, and then instead they just went full looter shooter. And it was just dumb. It was just stupid. But yeah, they delayed it another full year after this. And, Sefton Hill, Jamie Walker left was it right before? I think it was right before the big gameplay reveal that was so terribly received. They left like 2.5, 3 months before it. And it really makes you pause and think, did they know the ship was sinking? Because again, I can't stress enough how insane it is to found a studio, lead it through a decade and a half of amazing success. And then you start working on a game that's not being received and talked about very positively. And so you decide to literally leave the entire company to start a different one. Like, how do you interpret that in any other way than they were jumping ship because they knew that it was going down? You know? Like, I just don't know how you respect that person who's like, yeah, good luck, guys. I know I was in charge of this, but yeah, I'll see you later. By the way, look out for the iceberg. Then they just run off into the distance. Like, it really is slimy to me. It really is slimy. At least to the dude's credit, the director of Concord, that game flopped and he resigned after. He saw that through to the end and he's like, you know what? This is ultimately my responsibility. And he took responsibility for it and resigned after the game launched and was like, yep, this is on me. I respect that. I respect it. You went down with the ship. With this is sad. It's pathetic.
But it was too late. Rocksteady only conceded on one piece of feedback, adding an offline mode post-launch.
And I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't that come in season 4? I think the offline story mode thing came at the very, very end, didn't it? Or am I misremembering it? I think it was like literally one of the last things they did.
Confidence was then fading fast, inside and out. That same Bloomberg report then painted a very dark picture. A culture of toxic positivity had overtaken the studio. Criticism wasn't welcome. Doubts were dismissed.
Yeah, I forgot about the way they phrased this. Several employees adopted the term toxic positivity to describe the company, the culture of the company, which discouraged criticism. Leadership didn't seem worried. They say, even as other traditionally single-player game studios that chase live service trend were delivering abysmal results with games such as Anthem, Avengers, and Redfall. I mean, you can look at this, and I mean, I'm just going to tell you. I'm just going to show you a picture and it will prove that criticism and feedback was not taken that seriously. I didn't realize they clipped my picture. I didn't know this. But this article uses a picture from our stream. That's funny. That's funny. I had no idea. Yeah, some of these skins, dude. Where's the one with the trash bag? There's one this one. Yeah, there is no way in hell that they were receiving constructive feedback during this process. This is unironic. They looked at this and said, this looks fire. Snap and approval. Like, yeah, exactly. Somebody approved this. I understand, Luke, it's inspired by old comic books and stuff. Okay, cool. Doesn't mean it looks good. So somebody should have said stop. Mrs. Freeze or what is the? I mean, even just the Joker. It's the Joker, baby. This whole thing was insane. At least some of these skins were kind of like at least unique and interesting, but like all of the characters had a few lines of dialogue, and when they were pitching the Joker, they were like, yeah, this Joker is like, he's kind of insecure. He doesn't have it all figured out, and he's still trying to figure out his role within this world. It's like, you're talking about the freaking Joker, and you turned him into a character who's like kind of angsty and anxious about society and where he fits in. How's he going to pay for his student loans? It's like nobody gives a crap. He's the Joker. He laughs, kills people, does crazy stuff because he's crazy. I don't need to relate to him because like we both have a literature degree that we're massively in debt over, okay? It's not that big of a deal. It's okay if he's different. He's a super villain, okay? Okay? But no, instead it's like, well, we found people didn't have a lot in common with the Joker. So we had him pursue a degree in sociology. Get it? It's just so patently ridiculous, but it's so representative of this era of games where there's just no critical feedback. They're making games for people that don't really exist, and they have like an active contempt for their audience all at the same time. And if you don't like it, or you make fun of it because it is ridiculous, they act like something's wrong with you, and they act like you are the one acting in bad faith when you're like, no, this is just stupid. It's just dumb. Okay. And me saying that, you should be listening to that and going, you know what? Thank you. Thank you, Luke. Thank you to viewers of the Luke Stevens Live channel. Thank you. Thank you for telling us so we don't make this mistake, so we can learn from it, grow, and give you what you want. Because ultimately, the whole point of creating a game at the end of the day is to create a product that you can sell to people. I know we can look at it and be like, well, games are art, and sometimes art is about creating something people don't want to see, but that they need to see. I get all that. That's all fine and dandy. But ultimately, this is a business, okay? Whether you love it or not, it's a business. And if I, as your customer, think the thing you made sucks, that's what you have to deal with, because I'm not going to buy it. So you got to fix it and make something that I will enjoy or I will find interesting and engaging. It's not to say you can't surprise me, but if I see something I don't like and I tell you I don't like it, for you to just still put it out and be like, no, you're going to like it. And if you don't, you're the problem. It's like, okay, then I think we're getting stupid. I think we're getting silly.
In the studio, criticism wasn't welcome. Doubts were dismissed. The creative vision had shifted from melee-focused combat to a third-person gameplay, completely revamping the game. Team members waited weeks, sometimes months, for Sefton Hill, while he was still the studio lead, to approve even small changes.
Dude, weeks or months to get something approved. And this is in addition to the discussion we had earlier of David Haddad, the head of Warner Brothers Games, who also reportedly would take weeks or months to respond for approvals, budgetary restructuring, whatever it is, like just tons of stuff he would just sit on for ages and not do anything because he was just riding the gravy train. Choo-choo.
Entire chunks of the script were scrapped and rewritten. Vehicles were added, then removed.
They said, confessing that he didn't spend much time with completing games such as Destiny, the constant delays. He hadn't spent much time with competing games such as Destiny. So he wasn't playing comparable games to try and get inspiration. He was just trying to figure it out himself and not looking for much inspiration from successes elsewhere. At one point, the leader, he's going to go past it. But at one point, this is what I mentioned earlier. At one point, Hill pitched an elaborate system of vehicles that would allow players to deck out their cars with weapons and navigate through the game's alien-infested streets. But each of the 4 playable characters were already outfitted with modes of traveling, leading to more doubts among staffers. Why, they wondered, would players using Deadshot or King Shark bother with a motorcycle when they could just soar through the air? After months of experimentation and prototyping, the vehicle system was scrapped, but also still used in the game because there's a whole vendor who just decks out your vehicle for the 3 missions they have that used it because they were like, well, we built it, we can't just throw it away now. But just tons of wasted time and effort.
Leadership kept reassuring the team it would all come together, just like Arkham had. But this wasn't Arkham. It was hell on Earth. And not the fun kind.
Sorry, it was bad. Calling it hell on Earth is a little funny. It's a little hyperbolic, but it is funny. Because I don't think they were having. There were some developers, I'm sure, who were frustrated by this. But all of the discourse and everything that's come out after the fact was that it was actually kind of the opposite. Like they were straight up in delusion land, thinking that people were going to love this and that this was going to be awesome. It was going to be the next Destiny. It was going to be incredible. And because they didn't allow critical voices to be heard, when they put it out there and it was poorly received, they were genuinely surprised and shocked. Which is a similar story we've heard in a lot of other cases. Saints Row reboot, they were genuinely shocked. People mocked it and thought it looked terrible. They were genuinely shocked. Or in the case of Forspoken, there was, I think it was the narrative director, said that they were really proud of Faye and the characters they had created and the writing and everything. When Forspoken went viral before it even launched because of an unedited clip of the first like 10 minutes of the game showing her just going and being like, no, I'm a teen with a bright future in front of the judge, and then randomly throwing a packet of dust she had in her pocket for some reason at somebody, and then running around and climbing over these chain link fences, and then being like, wow, I use magic. I can do that now. Wow, I can do it. I'm going to be a dad. Like it's just ridiculously cringe writing, but they genuinely had no idea people would laugh at it. They had no idea because they were that out of touch with like their audience, with their customers.
As for WB, they still believed it could be a billion-dollar franchise, so the development continued.
Despite internal concerns from frontline workers, executives from Warner Brothers kept reviewing demonstrations of the game and sending laudatory feedback, praising the graphics and saying they expected Suicide Squad to become a billion-dollar franchise. It's funny that they specifically were calling out the graphics. It's almost like some 60-year-old dude who doesn't play video games is just looking for the shiny thing and being like, oh, that means people are gonna love it. You know, like it's again, it's just very representative of the dysfunction that's plagued Warner Brothers for so long.
But the developers, they knew better. With its creative heads gone and player trust shattered, Rocksteady was now speeding towards one of the most catastrophic launches in modern gaming history. January 2024, a month before release, even more red flags. Press previews were handed out to gaming outlets, and even then...
Yeah, so Destin, friend of the channel, he, I believe, did the IGN preview for Suicide Squad, and I remember, like, people were going at him at the time for it, being like, no, you just wanted to hate on it, you're being unfair, whatever, because there were some fanboys for Suicide Squad. Nowadays, it's kind of funny to think about it, but there were. How many of you guys, show of hands in chat, how many of you guys were here with me on the day of launch when we pulled up on Twitch and we looked at people that were trying to play the early version of Suicide Squad, and we found that guy that was calling people brokies if they didn't buy the game? People were like, oh, it's too expensive, I'm not doing that. And this dude's like, okay, well, if you want to be a brokey, that's fine. It's like, unironically, calling people brokies for not wanting to spend $70 on this game, which is freaking hilarious. I was here, yeah, see all these OGs, look at that. That's fantastic. But yeah, there were fanboys. There were people that were like hardcore trying to defend it and rock it. And it was quite entertaining because now, I mean, kind of speaks for itself, unfortunately. But the previews were quite negative, and even after they came after them, the previews were still quite negative. I want to see, does he have a clip of the stream that they did? No. He does not. They, at one point, they also had like Shroud. It was Shroud, Dr. Lupo, and is it Tariq? Is that who it is? They had them all come out and they played and streamed it. Shroud, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. It was the sponsored stream specifically. Yeah, this.
The weapons. Some of them are crazy strong, so we're not going to be using the crazy strong ones today. We're going to be using ones that aren't as strong. There's these
sponsored
notorious villain weapons that are flying. Like, I could send the. I'm not really sure if I
that one's
want
kind of
it.
just goofy, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's a goofy one. You hear the ding and everything. I want to send this guy flying.
Yeah,
again.
exactly.
Like, look at this. Look at this. Boom, just gone. Yeah, it's.
You got him for the rifle. That was a sick shot.
I'm gonna be real. I don't know how much they got paid for this. Okay, I don't know. I've received offers for like dedicated sponsored streams of games and stuff. And, you know, I'm nowhere near in the vein of like a Shroud, you know, or anybody like that. So I'm sure he's getting fat stacks. I don't know how much he would get. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking like well over 100. Okay. Like he probably could pretty easily negotiate something like that. Maybe. I don't think he's breaking 7 digits, but I think he's in the 6-digit range for something like this. And so I can respect the hustle getting that bag, you know? I can respect that. But I frankly love these kinds of things when a streamer or a YouTuber is sponsored and they so clearly do not like the thing they're promoting. Because it's so freaking funny to watch them try and not just trash it. You know, it's like that clip of Dark Viper. Dark Viper with Mind's Eye. We're at the very, very end. He's trying to like keep it together.
Mind's Eye. I was sponsored by Build a Rocket Boy to check it out. It's got some hype around it because of Leslie Benzies, who used to work for Rockstar Games, and it's not like a GTA-like game. It's well, haven't heard that much about it. I'm gonna experience it now. Hope it's good. Let's go.
Experience it.
This is where
this is him at the end.
This preview ends of Mind's Eye. Just like to remind you guys that
Thank God.
This game was sponsored by... If you want to check out Mind's Eye now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, Epic Game Store, and Steam.
Remove sponsors so you can touch.
Feel free. And type !spawn in chat and I give you a link.
Keep it together, man. It's kind of hard to keep a straight face, man. It's just bad. And to their credit, I feel like, you know, Shroud and these guys for Suicide Squad, they actually did give it a fair shake. They played it for like 2 or 3 hours or something. They played a lot of it, and you know, in that 2 hours, I'm sure they saw everything that there was. Yeah, here they are. And so they played it. They were in a party together, and you know, they got a fat stack while doing it. And, you know, I appreciate that they gave them access to this. It let them share it with the audience so people could see what unedited gameplay of Suicide Squad was going to be like. And a lot of people saw this and were like, okay, yep, not for me. Not for me. So at least they gave them the chance to do that. But yeah, sponsored streams by games that are not good are one of my favorite things ever. It's just because it's always so cringy of people trying to be like, so you can get the game now. And it's... I love it.
Including IGN's. We played it and didn't like it. Things were looking grim. On January 29th, early access was set to begin for users who paid $100 for the deluxe edition. As for review copies, extremely limited. Even the biggest outlets and creators were completely left in the dark.
There's an early access period that is out in
early access will be open.
6 days. 6 days if you buy like the premium version of this. And I don't know anyone who has a review code for it.
No, me neither.
Early access gamers were going in blind. But just 1 hour after launch, the servers went offline. The problem...
I forgot about this, dude. It's been too long. I forgot about this. Yeah, people bought the premium deluxe whatever thing because they weren't brokies. They weren't. And then this happened.
Well, the game auto-completed the story upon login. Rocksteady quickly issued an apology while their engineers scrambled to fix the issues. But the players were furious, at least the 7,000 people who were actually playing it on Steam. By release day, Steam numbers barely doubled, and reviews across the board mixed to negative.
But I'm not only going to be disappointed, but I'm also going to be frustrated. Frustrated that 14 years after this genre emerged, it feels like every single release is repeating the exact same mistakes. Frustrated that $100 doesn't even buy you a complete skin on the cash shop. But more than anything else, frustrated that this genre and this business model has claimed yet another scalp. 9 years for Rocksteady to follow up on one of the most seminal trilogies in the history of video games, and this is what we got.
Ultimately, the story of Suicide Squad is quite tragic. Rocksteady took a gamble at a new model and didn't pan out. Development hell, leadership shakeups, and lack of vision left the devs scrambling to stitch together a functioning product. But some few did enjoy it for what it was, saying,
"Dude, 9 hours on record total."
People who hate this game are dramatic. It's not the best.
Me? Dramatic? Maybe a little. Maybe a little.
Thing ever, but it's genuinely just not that bad. Don't pay full price though. But that...
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I think that's a level-headed thing. It's not the best thing ever. It's the way I described it is that it's about 2.5 hours of gameplay stretched over a 10-hour campaign. So it's really repetitive even within that 10-hour bit. And you know, for like $20, I could see somebody having a good enough time for it or with it to justify the purchase. But it also doesn't change the fact that the game's story was also incomplete because they were going to sell it to you in chunks, or maybe not sell it, but they were going to release it to you in chunks over previous or following seasons and stuff. So it wasn't going to just be a total package, you know.
But that didn't stop the internet from blasting all of its major issues. From graphical downgrades when comparing with Arkham Knight, to poor out-of-place writing and character design.
Tell me about it. Wasn't expecting you to come in fun size. What the fuck?
To the blatant disrespect.
That one still, I understand, like, if you just hear that line, you can understand why people would freak out over it, because it's fun size. And it's like, Harley has a relationship, let's just say, with Ivy, Poison Ivy, if you remember. And she phrased it as fun size, which I can see a writer being like, oh, because this new version of Ivy that's basically a child is small, so fun size. But you can't just say that when Harley has had a very close relationship with Ivy before, and then this is a child. Like, it just doesn't work. You can't say that. It's, again, it kind of reiterates the idea that nobody looked over the script to just be like, maybe not. Let's just change it. Let's just swap that out. You know, it feels like nobody proofread the script at all. There were other things, like the part where, who is it? Who dies? Was it Green Lantern when he dies? And one of the characters straight up pees on his corpse. Boomerang, I think, pees on his corpse. And it's just like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, it wasn't funny. It was just, or was it when Flash dies? It was just bad. Like, it was just uncomfortable and gross. Yeah, but that's in character. I don't know, man. It felt very tonally bizarre. And maybe it is in character, like in the comics or whatever. But in their portrayal and everything they set up, it did not feel like it was appropriate. It felt very out of place, like they were playing for a cheap laugh or something. So either way, something went wrong. And typically, like with the audience, if the audience cringes or like, ugh, in reaction to something that happens, whether or not it's in character, if the audience reacted that way and that wasn't your intention for them to react that way, something's gone wrong, you know? If their reaction was not what you wanted it to be, something happened, you know? Maybe the setup to the joke wasn't right. Maybe the way you presented the character thus far wasn't right. Or maybe you should change the character's like approach because it's not clicking with the audience. They don't like it. Either way, something happened. But anyway, continuing.
About it. Wasn't expecting you to come in fun size. What the fuck?
To the blatant disrespect for the Arkham legacy.
You always gotta end on your best joke.
And this one also, I think, was just very symbolic. I think that's why it clicked with everybody. Like, everybody knew what they were doing a mile away. Batman's a clone. Superman's a clone. All these people you're killing are clones. And so they're going to come back and everything's going to be fine and dandy. It's going to be fine. Who cares? We all saw through it immediately. Like, there was no real plot twist, but it was like, even if it's a clone, you're still shooting Batman in the face. So even if he's a clone, it's still bad. Except Wonder Woman, you're right. Yeah, Wonder Woman gets to be a badass.
Even if Kevin Conroy hadn't passed away, this still would have been the most disrespectful way to send off Arkham Batman.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is it feels bad, man. It feels bad. Man. Bad man. And that's why, like, sometimes you can do something. You could write this into the script. I get it. But you shouldn't be surprised when the audience reacts really poorly. It's the same thing with like The Last of Us Part 2. Yeah, they can kill off Joel. It might even make sense in the story with everything Joel's done for Joel to die. That makes sense. But the audience is not going to like it. It's why there is, I think, a very valid point to be raised with like The Last of Us, that just because the story would warrant Joel's death, that doesn't mean maybe that we tell that part of the story. Maybe it's worth just leaving the story where it is. That's why I've said I think The Last of Us Part 2 is an incredible game technically in terms of gameplay. The AI systems are ridiculously good, things like that. But I think that it's a game whose story and the point of the story would have been much better received if it were told in a different IP with different characters, something original. Like they just made a separate game to tell that story. I think people would have responded to it way better, because when people have an emotional attachment to a character, whether it's Batman or Joel, and then you kill them in a disrespectful, gruesome way, it's just, again, you shouldn't be surprised when the audience revolts and hates it, you know?
This is how it happened. This is how Rocksteady Studios died. Some blamed DEI, pointing fingers at Sweet Baby for its failure. Others purely on its live service model. The rest just on plain mismanagement by both WB and Rocksteady. In the end, the issues were all of the above. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, in turn caused WB to bleed, reaching a $200 million loss. To put that into perspective, that's more than the budget of the Suicide Squad film in 2016, resulting in a 41% year-over-year revenue drop for WB. But instead of
that, though, I'm not saying he's trying to be deceptive or anything. I think this is just a point where we have to be like very precise. This stat is bad, but you have to like understand what this is. What game came out in 2023? That was the biggest game of the year. Hogwarts. Hogwarts caused their numbers to go like this, okay? And then kind of trail off over the next year. Suicide Squad the following year started kind of like this, and then like nothing happened because it didn't really make any money. And so this gap was described as this like massive drop in revenue. And it is a massive drop in revenue, but it's a massive drop in revenue specifically because you're trying to compare yourself to one of the most successful games of the last like 5 years. So the stat is bad, absolutely, and Suicide Squad lost a lot of money, but doing the year-over-year comparisons can get you into you know, it's a slippery slope because you're not really comparing apples to apples. You're comparing like 1 year with not many releases to a year where they had the biggest game of the year kind of by luck. So you just have to be precise about it.
Year-over-year revenue drop for WB.
No, Lombardo, that's a different Avalanche. There's two Avalanche studios, the guys that did like Just Cause, and then there's this other one, Avalanche, out of Utah, and they did Cars 3 Driven to Win. Which, yes, the game that the Hogwarts Legacy guys did before Hogwarts Legacy was Cars 3 Driven to Win. That was the last game they worked on before that.
But instead of shifting gears, Rocksteady stayed the course. They slashed the price by 90%, then dropped their first DLC.
It's the
Season
Joker,
of the
baby.
Joker, resulting in an amazing 3,000 player peak with outlets labeling it as unbelievably bad, void of content, and a mountain of grinding, and a complete lack of story.
Well, one of the things that's important to understand about this is that through the entire marketing cycle of Suicide Squad, the pitch was, yeah, the game may be hollow, but we're going to bring more characters and they will have their own stories, their own Elseworld, or I think it's Elseworlds is what they called them. And so like their own maps and missions and everything. So they're going to add significantly to the content of the game. But what actually happened, you know, people hear that and they think, okay, so we're going to get like new content, and the new content is going to be like this total package, and we're going to have story woven throughout that. We're going to get new gameplay mechanics woven throughout that as well. So we're going to get a package that has all of these new mechanics, new interactions between the characters and the map and all that. But what we actually got was a package that has like a little tidbit of story at the very end. And by a little, I mean literally they have a 90-second to 2-minute cutscene that plays out, and that's it. That's all the dialogue the character has, because you don't unlock the character for the season until after you've grinded out the same missions you've been doing previously. So it's just more of the same game with nothing new for 99% of the new season. And then after you've grinded out the new season and gotten your season rank to level 10, then you unlock the boss fight to unlock the new character if you don't want to pay $10 for them. And that new boss fight against a new Brainiac, it is literally just a reskin of another boss fight you've already done. So this whole pitch of how this game was going to redeem itself with all these new characters, new seasons, new content, it's the same content, it's reskins, and then the narrative component is so minimal that there's basically nothing there. Even when the Joker shows up, what's the dialogue between him and Harley? Kill the Justice League. What's the dialogue that takes place? This is the reskin. Okay, this takes place. Joker shows up.
Wait, at least buy me dinner first.
Zinger. Yeah, exactly. It's so bad, dude. It's so bad. I'm the Joker, baby. So you would think the Joker just came back. Harley's Joker died a miserable death. He's back. This is maybe an opportunity to do some really cool narrative things, right? You can like have them talk about their versions of each other, and she can maybe have some closure with him. After all, he is insecure. There's all sorts of stuff you could do. What are they going to do? Watch it. This is all the narrative that they brought for this entire season. After waiting like 3-4 months, this is what they brought.
Don't blow this for us, man. What'd I just tell you?
Wait, we don't shoot these guys here? Aw, okay, that's on me.
Oh, Christ.
Mandy, baby, is that you? Oh, I'm so glad you're alive.
Shut it. It was a gamble adding you to this Task Force X, and I'm sick of your bullshit already. So I guess you'll fit right in. Keep him in line.
Put it in me. Oh, mate, bloody hell. Now you've just made it weird. Hal?
Hell no. Been there, done that, got the scars, did some healing. I'm not into that type anymore.
Maladaptive narcissist?
Comedians.
Come on, Deadshot. Sharko, you want to have a go this time?
My hands are too large.
We sure about this, Director?
Oh, this brings back memories of my old Suicide Squad.
Here we go.
They're all dead. What a tragedy. What a heartbreaker. The sprays of blood, the smell of singed hair, the viscera. Oh, the viscera. I'd definitely do it differently this time around. Cleaner.
Well, congratulations, Task Force X. It took you all of 20 seconds to lose control of him.
Hey, don't misunderstand me here. I killed my team because I truly cared about them. And even though I've only just gotten to know you guys, I care about you that much too.
Colonel Flagg, lock him up.
For the record, I hate this.
Me too, buddy. Me too.
Oh, is it too much? Making new friends after a move is always tough. Oh, this is much more accommodating than other cells I've been in. Is that real cinder block? 5 stars.
People waited months for that. Months. We owe Jared Leto an apology. Again, no joke. It's something we can meme about all day long, like toxic positivity, whatever. But I want you to like seriously put yourself in the position of sitting in an office, okay? Let's all just do a remote viewing session, okay? Let's sit together. We're all sitting around a conference table in Rocksteady Studios, and we're all working on this new game, okay? We're working on the Season 1 update, and yeah, the reception to the previous has not been great so far, but it's okay. We're going to win them back with this Season 1 update with the Joker, biggest character villain ever in DC. And somebody shows you that clip you just saw. Okay, close your eyes, imagine it with me. Somebody just finished showing that on a screen at the front of the conference room. And they turn off the projector, they turn the lights to the conference room back on, and they say, so what do you think? Imagine a world in which no one says that was garbage. Imagine everyone around the table going, it's great. Imagine a world in which they say, that's going to save the game. At that point, no. For the table to respond positively to that, your company's gone, dude. Like your quality control, your perception of what's good versus bad, what's cringe versus not, is so out of whack. I don't think there's any saving it. Like that's the piece where like, yeah, we can bring up the live service elements. Yeah, we can bring up Warner Brothers influence. We can bring up all that stuff. But it's really important to just remember that ultimately David Haddad was not making this game. He didn't make that cutscene, okay? The team at Rocksteady put that together and thought that was good. They thought it was good enough to save this game that was troubled. Like, that's where they put all their chips. And that's why, like, at some point, you know, people have asked, like, why did you cover this game so much? Why are you still talking about it 2025? Fair question. But it's really because of what these games represent, I think, largely in the industry and more broadly, because it's not just about this game that was kind of bad and released and went out the door and people are kind of moving on from. It's about an industry and a sort of structure of game development that can breed something like this without people stepping in and being like, what are we doing? Like, this should not be like hand waved away, because then it's just going to continue. Like, the people that worked on the narrative for this game really ought to be like pretty ashamed, because it's so hilariously awful. I didn't even have to say anything during that cutscene, and you were cringing your ass off. Like, and that says a lot when you can just watch an unedited clip of something and you're struggling not to bash your forehead in with the hand, like the face palming you want to do, it kind of speaks for itself. You don't need to say anything about these cutscenes within the game. They're so bad. They speak for themselves. They're just awful. Actual trash. Well, just as I thought, trash. That's what it is.
Years framed it as making Jared Leto Joker no longer the worst Joker in recent memory.
Put it in me. Oh, mate, bloody hell!
Season 2 somehow did even worse.
There's also this one where you shout out Luke. There it is. There it is. You can actually wear a trash bag. It's got to be one of the most unappealing and just offensive to the eyes outfits I've ever seen as a paid cosmetic. Bear in mind, this costs $10.
By the time Season 3 launched, the game couldn't even break 300 players on Steam. By the end of 2024, multiple layoffs followed the game's and DLC failure. By early 2025, the live service was dead. Offline mode was finally added, but by then, the damage was irreversible. As a send-off, none of it mattered. All Justice League characters, including Batman, happened to be clones. It was all a bad dream, a $70 grindy fever dream. The fall of Rocksteady echoes a familiar tale, one we have seen before with studios like BioWare, tragic and honestly depressing. And while Rocksteady still technically exists, with rumors of a Batman Beyond sequel, just like BioWare, the Ship of Theseus question applies. If most of the original talent is gone, is it even Rocksteady anymore? As of now, co-founders Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, with their new studio, 100 Star Games, have recruited over 100 industry veterans, many from Rocksteady. Failure often teaches more than success ever could, especially now away from AAA bureaucracy and red tape. So maybe, just maybe, even without the DC Comics IP, there's still hope. As for WB, they went on to cancel a Wonder Woman project made by Monolith, Shadow of War devs, shutting down their studio and doubling down on live service games, despite the amazing reception of Hogwarts Legacy, a single-player game. But that's a story for another time.
Yeah, it's I think also, again, it's important to stress David Haddad was pushed out, and then pretty soon after that is when all this started to really accelerate. So I don't think it's a coincidence that all of this is happening around the same time. But very, very good video, Selwyn. 35,000 subs, 35,401 now. I highly recommend you go give him a sub. Crazy high production value, very, very good perspective and roundup of everything. Yeah, really, really solid. I think, the lasting legacy of Suicide Squad is not just as a lackluster game that flopped, but it's going to be a game that really was representative of a lot of different aspects of the industry that were toxic. And that's why I think it deserved to fail.
The Distinguished Dragon donated $10 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
I'm a couple of hours behind on the stream, but I have to quote my favorite part of the Holes movie. I'm tired of this, Grandpa. Too damn back. Keep digging.
Too damn back. Keep digging. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you for the 10, my friend. Thank you. Yeah, I think with this, it's just, I think the other piece of it with Suicide Squad, especially too, was this perception within the industry that there's no critical feedback with some of these games. Games like Saints Row, Suicide Squad, Concord. There are these games that all release within a fairly tight window of each other, and one of the common threads is that they flopped catastrophically with problems that were readily apparent to everybody that saw it. Except seemingly within the studio. And that kind of suggests that there is a disconnect between what's being said to the dev team and what's being said internally versus what's being said by the community and by the public. And that's why I think it's important to call this stuff out, to in many ways mock it, and bring it into the spotlight so everybody can see it and know about it, so that these things don't happen again. Because something like Suicide Squad was avoidable. Concord, avoidable. Like Gotham Knights, avoidable. The Wonder Woman development hell, avoidable. Like all these things were technically avoidable. It's typically just a matter of the like leadership being delusional with what's going to work, what's not going to work, being out of touch with the broader community, being out of touch with what their audience wants, what their team is capable of. And that's why Suicide Squad, you know, it's sad that it died and flopped because, you know, in an alternative universe, there was a version of Suicide Squad that was awesome. Maybe that version with the Nemesis system, that could have been really cool. There was a version of it that could have worked. We just definitely didn't get it. And what I do know is that this version we did get deserved to fail, deserved to die. And yeah, it certainly did provide us with some great content, without a doubt. Ooh, what a dumpster fire. There's a little more. You want to see it?
Batman and Joker's rivalry finally ended in Arkham City. I don't doubt Batman would have saved the Maniac if he could, but the Titan poison ensured this was Joker's last laugh.
Wow. This is very existential for me. I always wondered what I'd look like dead. Answer? Waxy. My Batman never held me like that. Maybe I went overboard on the chloroform? See, what I like is he could have called himself Money Man, but he went with Bat. And that's a choice.
This like hyper sarcastic, irreverent, sassy kind of comedic styling that so many of these writers are using. I don't know where it started. Maybe it was Marvel, like with Guardians of the Galaxy or something. Maybe it was Iron Man. I don't know what started it. But my God, I can't stand it, dude. I can't stand it. It's this like snarky hoity-toity. I don't even know what to call it, but it's in all of these games. It's all this writing. Some people call it millennial writing. Some people call it Reddit humor. Yeah, I've heard that. Lawless had the most difficult to sit through dialogue ever, though. Like seriously, some of Lawless's dialogue was unbelievable.
I'm Lawless. The lawbreakers already know what I'm about. But luckily for newbies, this is a good jumping on point. I did the whole Robin Hood thing in Gotham a while. That iceberg lounge party heist. Me and mine. Now Metropolis is under siege and it's being suppressed in media. I had to get in there and do something. Okay, I had some help from the Suicide Squad. Thanks, Dad. Shot. Anyway, Brainiac's been doing this mega colonizing shtick across multiple dimensions. So I've been exploring, documenting, and making plans. Unlike some people. We'll work on that when they get here. So, where is here? I mean, look at this. What even is this, Brainiac?
What even is this? That's a good question.
Actually, first, I have something to show y'all.
I hope the stream crashes.
Straight from Brainiac's lab. Woo!
Oh, dude, it's so bad. It's so bad. Wait, I've got more. Because it's also the acting performance too, okay? Just, again, pillows on your hands. This is, guys, Jacob, when you edit this clip, this is like the epilogue post-credit scene, okay? This is like the thing for people after they got through the core of the reaction video. This is the real challenge, okay? This is that final challenge in Hot Wings where they take it with the full dab. You know, that's what this is, okay?
Tell Waller we're not letting her do that to any kid. Any more kids.
Welcome to Task
Hold on,
Force.
did the hair not load in? I remember seeing this once before. Hold on. Oh, this is the low poly version when she's off screen. And then it clips to the full version. That's cursed right there. That's scary. Anyway.
Welcome to Task Force X. Zoe Lawton.
Oh. Again, if I were directing a community theater play, I'd be like, what the hell was that? Do that again. No, that's not how we're doing it on stage. That was terrible. and I don't know what I'm doing. But even I would be like, that, no, what? No.
Ugh, here we go.
Here we go.
This is low. Even for you, Waller.
Hello? I'm right here? Ugh, that is so like you to go right past me.
I haven't asked anyone to do anything I wouldn't do myself in this situation. I certainly haven't compromised my morals. Maybe you're just projecting.
Oh yeah, project him. Eat that, loser man.
He's 13 years old. You can't
Dad! I'm 18. This is my choice, okay? I'm doing what feels right.
And again, I pointed this out before. Common thing with like, I don't know what to call it, but when I was in like theater classes in college, because they were easy electives to take, my theater teacher would have like given me an F if I were doing what she's doing repeatedly. Can you spot it? Can you spot it?
My choice, okay? I'm doing what feels right. My choice.
Every like 4 words is a separate head movement. It's a separate little thing. It's like a dance. It's like a dance. Every line, Dad, I'm doing the best I can.
Choice, okay? I'm doing what feels right, which
I mean.
thought you'd be all about. And I definitely do know what I'm getting into, okay?
Yeah, girl. Don't let your dad tell you what to do, you rebel.
Your dad's right. You can't go making life-altering decisions like that. I didn't listen to my old man. You want to end up like me?
Have you ever even seen the bomb in your heads? Because I've gone over full schematics, and according to my information, y'all are the ones who let a shady government agency strip you entirely of your rights.
That's the thing is, it starts to sound like weirdly.
Jack donated $10 through Super Chat. I'd rather be waterboarded.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. I'm ready. It's just, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's all garbage. I just think, you know, whenever I start to feel bad, I'm like, were we too hard on it? Did we like plow that game into the dirt? And I'm like, I watched this. I'm like, nope, we didn't go hard enough. we could have gone way harder on this game. And it probably would have deserved it, you know. Oh my God, it was so bad. It was so bad. Anyway, there you go. There you go. There's our final bit of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Good video from Selwyn. Go subscribe. Check him out. Links below. All of that good stuff. Gucci gang. Okay. Oh my God. So bad. It really is so bad. It's dreadful. All right, fam. Well, we have been going for about 4 hours. So I think that's a good time for us to wrap it up. I think I've got to go. Sounds like the crew may have finished our, at least part of our deck, and finished our dog run upstairs in the backyard, which Romeo will be very happy about. So we'll go check that out, make sure it's all looking good. iRockZ, thank you for the 21 months at the show off tier. That's baller. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Who let the dogs out? Not me, because our gate was torn down because they had to replace it. It's a whole thing. I didn't buy the game, but I want my money back, dude. Relatable. But you guys all have a fantastic rest of your day. I'm going to work on getting this video on Mafia, the old country, put up on the big channel. So go watch that when it goes up later today. And we'll rock and roll with that. And yeah, we'll be back streaming Wednesday. We'll be back with plenty more to talk about, I'm sure. So look forward to that. Until next time, my friends, thanks for hanging out with me live. You guys are all amazing. Much love. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you, Stuck in Act 2, by the way, for the sub, and Scary Q also for the resub. I'm sorry, I'm seeing those. I'm bad at this. But thank you guys for those. And until next time, my friends, much love. Oh, also, thank you, 53 nights. Yes, 3 months. Thank you for that. Much love, everybody. I'll see you soon. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.